Chapter 3356, 3356 I have something to tell you. 3356 I have something to tell you, Mr. Lu said. Where can we retreat to? Northern Border City? If we go there, won't they bomb the city? Everyone fell silent when they heard this. It was true, they were powerless in front of such technology. Feng Wu looked from General Feng to Elder Dongfang. Everybody seemed dejected. She finished treating General Feng's wounds. General Feng told her, "You can leave now." The meeting was above Feng Wu's level of confidentiality. Feng Wu raised her hand. "Well, I have something to say." Seeing the frown on Mr. Su's face, Elder Helion gestured at Feng Wu. "That's enough. Get out of here." Everyone present was Nest's high-ranking officials, and Feng Wu was too weak in terms of both her rank and her strength. As expected, Mr. Su's expression turned ugly. "Who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to stay here? Get out." Jun Linyuan took a step forward and stood in front of Feng Wu. There was a murderous look in his eyes. Mr. Su's stomach lurched when he saw Jun Linyuan's gaze. He was a senior minister of the empire and the head of the military academy. The crown prince was actually siding with the girl. The blood in Mr. Su's chest surged, and his expression was extremely ugly. Feng Wu waved her hand without another word. General Feng's spacious house was thousands of square meters in size. It was more than enough to fit what Feng Wu took out of her storage space. Things started dropping on the floor. When they turned to look, everyone looked like they were seeing a ghost. Because those things, Mr. Su was the leader of the Magical Equipment Division. He had been watching Master Duanmu research fighter jet for a long time. Therefore, he was most familiar with fighter jets. He now saw that the room was filled with them. With the fighter jets spread out, there wasn't enough space, and they had to be moved into the courtyard outside. Feng Wu kept a few fighter jets and all the inscription bombs for herself. Even so, what she took out was already incredible. They are, Mr. Su's voice shook. He had seen Feng Wu wave her hand, so he knew they had come out of Feng Wu's storage space. Feng Wu smiled at Mr. Su without saying a word. Mr. Su no longer cared about Feng Wu's attitude. All he could see were the fighter jet. Most of the inscription propellers were in the house. Most of the fighter jets were in the yard. When Mr. Su rushed out of the room, he saw the yard packed with fighter jets. "Am I dreaming?" Mr. Su rubbed his eyes. Elder Dongfang ran out after him. "I'm seeing them too." Elder Dongfang's voice was hazy, as if she were in a dream. Just then, General Feng also came out, one hand on his lower back. Everyone saw how inscription propellers and fighter jets filled the courtyard. Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan was staring at Feng Wu as well. The others were all amazed, but Jun Linyuan wanted to smack the girl. Feng Wu cleared her throat and ignored Jun Linyuan's cold gaze. "What happened?" In the end, General Feng asked the question. Chapter 3357 3357 His Royal Highness is angry. 3357 His Royal Highness is angry. Feng Wu said, "Well, it's exactly what you see." General Feng asked, "How many inscription propellers and fighter jets are here? 200? Feng Wu said, "There was some wear and tear, so I only have 100 inscription propellers and 95 fighter jets here." General Feng said, "So, can you tell me where these fighter jets came from? Don't tell me that our Magical Equipment Division can already mass-produce fighter jet." Mr. Su said, "Master Duanmu won't be able to build an inscription propeller before next year." Whoosh! All eyes were on Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, "Well, I went to the Dongsang Kingdom." Mr. Lu was the first to react, and he cried out, "Did you get the fighter jets from the Dongsang Kingdom?" Feng Wu nodded. Mr. Lu said, "Wait. When did you go there? Did you go with His Royal Highness?" The others thought they knew what had happened. If she went with the Crown Prince, she wouldn't have any problem obtaining the fighter jets. However, Jun Linyuan crossed his arms, stared at Feng Wu, and snorted. "I'm not that lucky." He was angry. Feng Wu immediately felt a little guilty and stole a glance at Jun Linyuan. The Crown Prince's jaw was clenched, and his lips were pursed. He looked furious. Feng Wu said, "Well, I didn't have anything to do, so I thought I could visit the Dongsang Kingdom." Jun Linyuan snorted. "Awesome. You just took a walk and brought back so many fighter jet." Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Feng Wu had a temper too. She stuck out her chest and glared at Jun Linyuan. "I risked my life on this trip. It took me so much effort and everything I could think of to bring these fighter jets back." The Crown Prince said in an unfriendly tone, "Oh, you didn't know how dangerous it was." Feng Wu almost choked. When did Jun Linyuan become so sarcastic? He used to be so arrogant. The others gave Jun Linyuan strange looks as well. As far as they knew, Jun Linyuan was cold, arrogant and unruly to the extreme. Why would he bother to insult others? Only Feng Wu got such treatment. Everyone looked at Feng Wu enviously, but Feng Wu wasn't convinced. "I'm not talking to you anymore." Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan, then turned to General Feng. She straightened her back and said in a heroic tone, "Father, I got all of this from Sun Castle. I did it all by myself." General Feng gave Jun Linyuan a sympathetic look. "Jun Linyuan, I'm so glad I get to see this." General Feng was elated. He didn't like it that some boy was going to steal his precious daughter away. Hence, General Feng asked Feng Wu, "How did you do it?" Jun Linyuan snorted. Feng Wu turned around and glared at him. "If you don't want to hear it, then get out." "Sss." Everybody gasped. This girl didn't know when to stop. She was talking to Jun Linyuan, not Feng Sun. Jun Linyuan would really get angry. To their surprise, Jun Linyuan wasn't angry. He only snorted and leaned against a pillar with his sword between his crossed arms. Chapter 3358 A Different Jun Linyuan. 3358 A Different Jun Linyuan. Well. General Feng darted a look at Jun Linyuan. He had never seen this kid remain so calm after hearing such criticism. It was unheard of. The others were also secretly amazed. Feng Wu told them everything that had happened after she snuck into Sun Castle. She told General Feng in detail how the second prince's men had given her the jade bracelet after she entered the underground passage. "Did the second prince's men do it? And you just stole their prize?" General Feng couldn't believe it. Feng Wu said, "That's right. It was the second prince's men. They thought I was one of them. How stupid." General Feng and the others all looked at Feng Wu, amazed by her good luck. "You can infiltrate the Dongsang Kingdom? Mr. Su frowned at Feng Wu. "People from the Junwu Empire can't do that because we don't have the scent of plant." "You're lying." Everybody looked at Feng Wu and wondered if she was lying. Feng Wu snorted. "The scent of plants, is it? Just because you don't have it doesn't mean I don't have it either." As she spoke, her aura changed. In an instant, she had the scent of plants, which came from the magic soul vine. "You do have it." General Feng was surprised. "How did you do that?" He wanted to know if all cultivators could learn how to do it. Feng Wu flipped her hand around, and the magic soul vine appeared on her palm. Feng Wu said, "This vine comes from the Dongsang Kingdom, and it can change my aura. That was why the Dongsangers didn't notice any abnormality when I was over there." Jun Linyuan stared at the magic soul vine on Feng Wu's palm. Feng Wu immediately sensed his gaze. She hid the plant in her sleeve and warned Jun Linyuan, "Don't even think about it." Jun Linyuan nodded without saying anything. Feng Wu said, "I've told you everything. I took the fighter jets, the second prince took the blame, and I came back safely." Jun Linyuan said, If Elder Dongfang hadn't protected you, do you think you could come back in one piece? Feng Wu said, Jun Linyuan said, why did you think you're capable enough to go to Sun Castle alone? Feng Wu said, The Crown Prince's face darkened. What did I tell you before I went into seclusion? You're not allowed to go out alone. What did you do? Why did you go to the Dongsang Kingdom alone? Do you think you're so powerful now? Jun Linyuan was already terrifying when he lost his temper, and with his current strength, even General Feng might not be able to handle him. Therefore, when he spoke in an angry voice, all the high-ranking officials of Nest fell silent. Even General Feng, who had wanted to speak several times, felt silent when Jun Linyuan glared at him. Feng Wu stood there with a pitiful look on her face. Her hands were clasped behind her back, and she looked a little uneasy and displeased. What's wrong with Jun Linyuan? Even if he wants to scold me, he should do it in private. There are so many people here. I'm so embarrassed. At that thought, Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. Seeing her pitiful but angry face, Jun Linyuan felt his heart skip a beat. However, he still glared at Feng Wu because he decided to teach her a good lesson this time. The Crown Prince had always been a man of action. He immediately made his move. Chapter 3359 Amazing Girl. 3359 Amazing Girl. There was a gust of wind, and Feng Wu was on Jun Linyuan's shoulder. He carried Feng Wu away. Everyone's eyes popped. That wasn't the Jun Linyuan they remembered. It had to be a joke. They all rubbed their eyes, but they only saw their crown prince carry Feng Wu away on his shoulder. Everyone immediately fell silent. Elder Hellion reacted quickly and immediately congratulated General Feng. General Feng's face darkened. What are you congratulating for? What's there to congratulate? She was his precious daughter. Being carried away in public was highly inappropriate. If General Feng hadn't been severely injured, he would have tried to take Feng Wu back from Jun Linyuan. Something suddenly occurred to Elder Dongfang. Aren't the inscription propellers equipped with a self-destruct program? Immediately, everyone looked at the pile of inscription propellers and fighter jets on the ground. That was right. Mr. Su was the first to react. He rushed forward to check the propellers and fighter jet. The others didn't move because they didn't know inscriptions or how to examine them. General Feng was frustrated. There were so many fighter jets and inscription propellers. They were the lifeblood of Nest Fortress. Earlier, Xue Zhibei had boasted that he would bomb Nest Fortress in the near future. General Feng had been worried, but Feng Wu had brought him a bunch of fighter jet. However, before General Feng could rejoice, Mr. Su told him there was a self-destruct program. General Feng was on an emotional roller coaster. How is it? Has the self-destruct program been activated? Before General Feng could ask, the others asked Mr. Su anxiously. At that moment, everyone's attention was focused on the fighter jets, and they weren't in the mood to care about the young couple's row. Mr. Su looked up at General Feng in a daze. General Feng asked, "What's wrong?" Mr. Lu also urged, "Say something. Don't just stand there." Mr. Su said, "No. The Dongsang Kingdom didn't activate the self-destruct program." Mr. Lu asked, "Doesn't the Dongsang Kingdom know their fighter jets were stolen?" Elder Hellion said, "Didn't Feng Wu say the entire underground base was blown up? How could they not know?" Elder Dongfang nodded. Mr. Sakia's disciple wouldn't stop accusing Feng Wu of stealing their fighter jets and wanted to take her back to the Dongsang Kingdom. Of course, they knew their fighter jets were stolen. Why wouldn't they activate the program? Everybody looked at Mr. Su. Mr. Su said, "It's not that the program wasn't activated. To be more precise, the self-destruct program has been modified." Modified? The others all looked at Mr. Su in amazement. General Feng frowned and asked, "How?" Mr. Su was still in a daze, and he tried to describe how surprised he was. My understanding is that the program has been activated, but someone tampered with it, so the program stopped halfway, said Mr. Su. But that doesn't make sense. How can anyone have the ability to do that? Maybe someone in the Dongseng Kingdom could do it, but can we really have such a talented person in the Junwu Empire? Chapter 3360 Geniuses exist. 3360 geniuses exist. Mr. Su looked at General Feng in bewilderment. This person has to be at least a level 9 inscription master. What Mr. Su didn't know was that Feng Wu had been pretending to be Bu Jingyu when she heard the Elder's secret code, which was why she could modify the program so quickly. General Feng shook his head involuntarily. He didn't have any subordinates like that. Mr. Su said, "That's why it's strange." Mr. Lu glared at Mr. Su. "What are we looking at now?" Mr. Su spread his hands. "As you can see, these fighter jets are ours." Everyone fell silent, not knowing how to react. Elated, surprised, disbelieving, probably all of the above. Elder Helion asked, "Then, will General Shui still bombard us?" Everyone looked at General Feng. General Feng frowned. This was a top priority. First, we have to figure out how many fighter jets they still have. If there are still many left, I'm afraid they'll still attack. Helion Dongfang. Yes, General Feng. Yes, General Feng. Choose some promising cultivators and train them as flying combatants. Yes. Elder Helion and Elder Dongfang soon left. They had a lot to do. Mr. Su, I'll leave the assembly and maintenance of the fighter jets to you. Mr. Su couldn't wait to do that. General Feng said, "If there's something you don't understand, you'd better ask for Feng Wu's advice." Mr. Su didn't like the sound of that. "That girl," General Feng said, "she's even better than me with inscriptions. Do you know what she has?" Mr. Su shook his head. General Feng said, "She has the Phoenix Pen." Phoenix Pen? Master Ling Hu's Phoenix Pen? Mr. Su exclaimed. General Feng stroked his beard and nodded. Mr. Su was genuinely shocked. "How? Where did she get it?" General Feng said, "Even Master Ling Hu found that girl talented. What do you think?" Mr. Su had wanted to become Master Ling Hu's disciple, but Master Ling Hu had turned him down. Hearing what General Feng said, Mr. Su immediately took Feng Wu seriously. "Is that girl's achievement in inscriptions really higher than yours?" That was something Mr. Su had never expected. General Feng nodded seriously. Mr. Su said, "Was she the one who ended the self-destruct program of the inscription propellers? It was so hard to believe. She's no more than 16 years old, isn't she?" Why, Mr. Su felt a bitter taste in his mouth. He had studied and researched all his life. How could a girl surpass him? General Feng patted Mr. Su's shoulder. "You have to admit that there are geniuses in this world. Obviously, that girl is a genius too." Why too? Because Jun Linyuan was another perfect example. How could any teenager be as capable as they were? It was simply too scary. Mr. Su didn't want to admit it, but when he thought back, he recalled how fast Feng Wu had made breakthroughs, her level of medicine refinery, and her inscription level. He had to admit what General Feng said made sense. So be it. Although Mr. Su still had suspicions, he no longer let it show. Dongseng Kingdom, Sun Castle. Shuizhibei had no idea so much had happened during the few days he was away. He was dumbfounded when he saw his destroyed residence. He turned around and looked at Mr. Sakiya in bewilderment. Chapter 3361 Rage. 3361 Rage. From what he knew, Mr. Sakiya had always been calm and serious, but this time, Shue Jibei asked grimly. Mr. Sakia, give me an explanation. Emolan had already taken Night Owl away to treat his wounds. God knew how badly his wounds had been aggravated. It would take him forever to recover, let alone catch up with Jun Linyuan. Mr. Sakia's face also darkened when he saw the destroyed house. However, more bad news was waiting for them. Mr. Sakia said, General Shue, please follow me. He had yet to recover from his injuries and was still limping. However, General Shue pretended he didn't see anything. Mr. Sakia led him to the underground base. General Shue wondered if the base had come up with second-generation fighter jet. Was Mr. Sakia going to tell him that good news? If that was the case, General Shue could live with what he had seen just now. This confrontation with the Junwu Empire had a huge impact on General Shue. Because of Jun Linyuan, the Dongsang Kingdom, which had been at an absolute advantage, was now at a disadvantage. It wouldn't have too big an impact if it was just one event. However, Shue Jibei knew that as long as Jun Linyuan was alive, the higher-ranking officials of the Dongsang Kingdom would always be at a disadvantage. Instead of destroying Nest, they would have to watch out for Nest's revenge. Therefore, Shue Jibei's hopes were on the fighter jet. However, he was astonished when he saw what was left of the fighter jet base. His sharp eyes were filled with rage. Sakia, explain this to me now. General Shue sounded calm, but his voice was filled with murderous energy. After the initial frustration, Mr. Sakia calmed down. He said, the fighter jet base was invaded, and 100 inscription propellers that were waiting to be assembled were stolen. Boom! General Shue was enraged. He punched Mr. Sakia furiously. Mr. Sakia knelt and slid backward. His back soon hit the wall, making a loud noise. He almost vomited blood, but he fought it back. Although he was a master tutor, his strength was inferior to General Shue's. Therefore, Mr. Sakia wasn't as good as General Shue. He took a deep breath and forced himself to breathe normally. He looked at General Shue again and continued to report calmly, 100 fighter jets were stolen as well. General Shue breathed heavily and stared at Sakia. Mr. Sakia saw killing intent in Shue Jibei's eyes. However, Mr. Sakia had to continue. We've also lost 100 fighter jets in the explosion. Shue Jibei was astonished beyond words. In an instant, he was in front of Mr. Sakia and grabbed him by the throat. Mr. Sakia was the Crown Prince's tutor and one of the most influential people in the Dongsang Kingdom. However, he couldn't fight back at all. Is that all? Mr. Sakia smiled bitterly and went on. The fighter jet base and research area were destroyed. All the personnel working on the second-generation fighter jets were killed in the explosion. Shue Jibei was astonished beyond words. Chapter 3362 Feng Wu did it. 3362 Feng Wu did it. General Shue's facial muscles were trembling. He knew the base would have 300 fighter jets in a few days. 100 of them were to be assembled, and 200 were already assembled. But now, Sakia had told him that 100 had been stolen, 200 fighter jets and the inscription research area had been blown up, and the second generation of inscription masters had been wiped out. How could General Shue, who had confidently declared that they would bomb Nest Fortress, accept this? General Shue wished he could strangle Mr. Sakia to death. Stop! Emolan rushed over and stopped General Shue at the most crucial moment. But what she brought was not good news either. The Crown Prince is in critical condition, Emolan told General Shue. General Shue was so angry that he was about to stop breathing. Don't we have the immortal spiritual fruit? Why is he in critical condition? General Shue was furious. Emolan didn't know what to say. She lowered her head and took a deep breath. Finally, she told General Shue the truth. The immortal spiritual fruit was stolen. General Shui was dumbfounded. Emolan said, "That's the truth." General Shui was in disbelief. The first immortal spiritual fruit was stolen. After all the precautions we took, the second immortal spiritual fruit was stolen again? Emolan said, "That's the truth." General Shui's gaze moved back and forth between Emolan's face and Mr. Sakiya's face. He pointed a trembling finger at the two of them. One of them was a semi-divine medicine refiner, and the other was the Crown Prince's tutor. What were they doing? Screw you! General Shui would also curse if he was forced into a corner. Mr. Sakiya and Emolan were already part of a small group of people at the top of the food chain in the Dongsang Kingdom. They had noble statuses and were respected by others, but they were now being reprimanded like puppies by General Shui. Just then, Zhu rushed over. Seeing what was happening, he said in a hurry, "Master, we've contacted our secret agent in the Junwu Empire according to your instructions. The real Mu Yen is dead, and the fugitive was Feng Wu in disguise. As for Feng Wu, not only is she good at inscriptions, she's also good at disguising herself." Mr. Sakiya turned his head and stared intently at his eldest disciple. Zhu had been by his master's side for so long, but he had never seen him look like that. What kind of gaze was that? Killing intent surged as if it would devour the entire world. Emolan exclaimed, "Feng Wu? The Feng Wu from the Junwu Empire?" Zhu nodded. "Yes, it's her." Emolan said, "How's that possible? How could she have entered Sun Castle? She's from the Junwu Empire. How could she?" "It's possible." Mr. Sakiya leaned against the wall, closed his eyes and slowly said, "It's no wonder I find that girl strange. That's why." Everyone looked at Mr. Sakiya. Mr. Sakiya was in pain, anger, and disbelief. "She has the aura of plants on her. It's easy for her to disguise herself as a citizen of the Dongsang Kingdom. If she knows how to disguise herself." He recalled the first time the immortal spiritual fruit was stolen. No wonder she was with Jun Linyuan last time. She was injecting Jun Linyuan with the immortal spiritual fruit, wasn't she? How could you not have known? Mu Yen didn't betray us. Feng Wu replaced her from the beginning. Mr. Sakiya was sure Feng Wu had been disguised as Mu Yen this whole time. Because of this, Bu Jingyu didn't become a suspect. That was very lucky for him, since he wouldn't be able to withstand any investigation. Chapter 3363 The Unbelievable Crown Prince. 3363 The Unbelievable Crown Prince. Divine Phoenix Blood. I really underestimated the Divine Phoenix Blood. How could Mr. Sakiya withstand the truth? He had been defeated by a teenage girl. Clutching his chest, he coughed violently until he vomited blood. When General Shui saw Mr. Sakiya hunch over and cough, he felt this blow had made the latter age 10 years. General Shui felt terrible just looking at Mr. Sakiya. By now, what could the general possibly say? "If you can't," General Shui said. Mr. Sakiya finally stopped coughing up blood. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with a handkerchief and finally looked up at General Shui. Although he was old and dispirited, his eyes were shining. "General, if we don't take revenge, I won't be able to accept my punishment in peace. Please hand this matter over to me. After I kill Feng Wu and take back the fighter jets, I'll end my own life to atone for my crimes." Mr. Sakiya bowed deeply. What else could General Shui say? In the end, he could only flip his sleeves. "If you don't kill Feng Wu within a month, I'll have your head on a plate." After saying that, General Shui left. A month. A bitter smile appeared on Mr. Sakiya's face. Soon, it was replaced by ruthlessness. Feng Wu had no idea she had made such a terrifying enemy, nor did she know who had passed the information to the Dongsang Kingdom. Right now, she was hanging over Jun Linyuan's shoulder. His shoulder dug into her belly, which was quite painful. Feng Wu knew Jun Linyuan wanted to teach her a lesson. No. She struggled violently, trying to jump off Jun Linyuan's shoulder. Put me down, you bastard! Put me down! Jun Linyuan, what are you doing? This is abuse. Damn you, Jun Linyuan! Put me down! Feng Wu was so angry that she didn't care about her choice of words. When Jun Linyuan heard them, his face became as dark as ink. They weren't the only people on the road. Zhuo Qingluan was a few steps away, and next to her was Shan Jingfei. They were walking toward Jun Linyuan while talking to each other. They looked up when they heard the voice, and saw the crown prince carrying Feng Wu on his shoulder as if he were trying to take her away. They were astonished. Was that the crown prince? What happened to the crown prince they knew? Why was he carrying a woman over his shoulder like any ordinary man? Wait. Did Feng Wu just curse at His Royal Highness? Oh God! Zhuo Qingluan and Shan Jingfei didn't know how to describe their feelings. Should they feel shocked, elated, or excited? Who was the crown prince? How could he tolerate Feng Wu scolding him like that? Was Feng Wu going to be beaten to death? Would he tear her apart? Zhuo Qingluan and Shan Jingfei couldn't wait to see that happen. However, what they wanted never happened. The crown prince did raise his hand, but his palm landed on Feng Wu's buttocks. Shut up! Jun Linyuan gritted his teeth, his voice hoarse. Did he just spank her? Zhuo Qingluan was astonished. Shan Jingfei was shocked. Even Feng Wu was dumbfounded by what Jun Linyuan did. He had just taken advantage of her, hadn't he? Feng Wu wanted to fight back, but the crown prince threatened her. Do you want to try it again? Chapter 3364 3364 Get the facts straight. 3364 Get the facts straight. No, of course not. Feng Wu didn't want to be humiliated in public again. She felt aggrieved, but she couldn't move because Jun Linyuan was a man of his word. He really would spank her again. Feng Wu pouted in frustration as Jun Linyuan carried her into his courtyard. When Jun Linyuan walked past Zhuo Qingluan, her face turned pale. She said, Jun. However, Jun Linyuan brushed past her before she could finish saying his name. He acted as if she were grass by the side of the road. Jun Linyuan entered his courtyard and closed the door with a thump. The noise woke Shan Jingfei up. She grabbed Zhuo Qingluan's arm. Did you see that? I wasn't dreaming, was I? Zhuo Qingluan's face was livid. She clenched her fists and trembled. Only then did Shan Jingfei realize something was wrong with Zhuo Qingluan. She remembered Zhuo Qingluan said the crown prince was her fiancé, not Feng Wu's. Feng Wu is only a mistress, Shan Jingfei said angrily. I can't believe His Royal Highness will favor his new lover over you. How fickle! Zhuo Qingluan's expression became uglier as Shan Jingfei complained. Shan Jingfei had gotten close to Zhuo Qingluan because the latter wasn't only connected to the Zhuo family and Firmament Palace, but also had a relationship with the Crown Prince. Shan Jingfei was only willing to follow Zhuo Qingluan because of the Crown Prince. But now this relationship was gone. Shan Jingfei was even angrier than losing her own husband. She rushed forward. I'm going to ask the Crown Prince what he's thinking. Does he want Feng Wu or you? Unable to stop Shan Jingfei, Zhuo Qingluan panicked. Someone laughed behind them. They turned around and saw Feng Sun leaning against a tree. Feng Sun looked Zhuo Qingluan up and down and beamed at her. Did you say you wanted to ask Boss Jun something? What do you want to ask him? I'm so curious. Zhuo Qingluan had been trying her best to stay calm in front of Shan Jingfei, but when she saw Feng Sun, she couldn't maintain her composure anymore. Taking a deep breath, she held Shan Jingfei's arm and spoke in a magnanimous tone, "Let's go." However, Shan Jingfei wasn't someone who would settle things peacefully. She shook off Zhuo Qingluan and stomped over to Feng Sun. Shan Jingfei was used to being arrogant. Now that she had lost her temper, she wasn't afraid of anyone. Fine. Since you're the Crown Prince's childhood friend, you can answer my question. Shan Jingfei asked in a righteous tone. Tell me, what's wrong with the Crown Prince? What does he want? Feng Sun and Xian Yi exchanged a look before turning their gazes to Shan Jingfei. What did Boss Jun do? Feng Sun was confused. Do you not know? Shan Jingfei smirked. What happened? He's Qingluan's fiancé, so why is he so close to Feng Wu now? Is Feng Wu going to be an imperial concubine? The crown prince could have a wife, and his other women would all be concubines. Zhou Qingluan felt her cheeks start to flush. She wanted to drag Shan Jingfei away right now. Chapter 3365 Fiancé 3365 Fiancé. However, Shan Jingfei was as stubborn as a young calf. She wouldn't leave. If you don't want to leave, I will. Zhou Qingluan wanted to escape. However, Feng Sun and Xian Yi blocked her way. Feng Sun smiled at Zhou Qingluan. I've always been wondering about something, so I can't let Miss Zhou leave yet. We'd better straighten the facts now, so that Boss Jun won't get angry when he hears about it. Not everyone can withstand his wrath. Zhou Qingluan was embarrassed. However, Shan Jingfei was intrigued. You're right. We have to be clear about such things. Feng Sun said, all right. He then asked Xian Yi, did Boss Jun agree to marry the Zhou family's daughter? Xian Yi shook his head. No. Shan Jingfei said, that's not right. I heard from Qingluan. Yes. Feng Sun seemed confused. Shan Jingfei looked at Zhou Qingluan, who looked innocent and bewildered. Qingluan, didn't you tell me you're engaged to His Royal Highness? Zhou Qingluan was screaming in her head. Feng Sun and Xian Yi looked at Zhou Qingluan in bewilderment as well. Surrounded by the three people, Zhou Qingluan blushed. She gritted her teeth and glared at Shan Jingfei. Are you done? After that, she pushed Shan Jingfei out of the way and ran off. Feng Sun shouted after her. Hey, why are you running? I'm not done yet. Boss Jun has only ever been engaged to Feng Wu. When was he ever engaged to you? Who made up that story? Zhou Qingluan didn't look back when Feng Sun shouted at her. Shan Jingfei was speechless. When Feng Sun turned around and saw Shan Jingfei there, he asked, where did the rumor start? When I find that person, I'll kill them. Shan Jingfei was about to say it was Zhou Qingluan, but then she realized Zhou Qingluan never explicitly said anything. She only dropped hints. When Shan Jingfei asked Zhou Qingluan if she was the Crown Prince's fiancé, the latter didn't deny it. That was why Shan Jingfei had assumed Zhou Qingluan was the Crown Prince's fiancé. She had been working for Zhou Qingluan, hoping that Zhou Qingluan would help her in the future so that she and the Crown Prince could get closer. Zhou Qingluan said so. Shan Jingfei wasn't easy to deal with either. Since Zhou Qingluan had given up her right to speak, Shan Jingfei would say whatever she wanted. Zhou Qingluan said it herself. She's the Crown Prince's fiancé. How else would I know? Shan Jingfei snorted, worried that Feng Sun would ask her to testify. The next second, she ran away. Shan Jingfei didn't dare go to Zhou Qingluan now. If Zhou Qingluan got angry, she could even kill her. Zhou Qingluan was furious. She was the eldest daughter of the Zhou family, the sacred lady of Firmament Palace, and had the true phoenix blood. She used to be loved by everyone, but now she was being ridiculed and reduced to such a sorry state. She was filled with hatred. In the depths of Dayless Woods, Zhou Qingluan smashed a tree with her fist. You shouldn't be so unstable. A black-robed figure appeared behind her. Zhou Qingluan gritted her teeth and glared at him. The black-robed man handed Zhou Qingluan a bottle of medicinal liquid. This can help you make a breakthrough quickly, but it'll drain your life force. Chapter 3366 Jun Linyuan's Bad Temper. 3366 Jun Linyuan's Bad Temper. Zhou Qinghuan snatched the bottle away. Written on it were the words, "Semi-divine breakthrough liquid." The black-robed man said, "If you're lucky, you'll be able to become a level 6 spiritual lord." Zhou Qinghuan's grip on the bottle tightened. The black-robed man said, "Feng Wu used to be weaker than you, but she's already become a level 6 spiritual lord in such a short time. She's a rare talent." Zhou Qinghuan said, "Shut up. I know you're trying to piss me off by praising her." The black-robed man chuckled and wasn't angry. Staring at the bottle, Zhou Qinghuan took a deep breath. "How much life force will it drain?" Zhou Qinghuan's pretty face twisted. "With your current strength, you can live to 100 years old. After drinking this bottle of medicinal liquid, you'll only have a quarter of your life left." In other words, she would only live until she was 25. Zhou Qinghuan stared at the man in black. The black-robed man nodded seriously. "So think about it carefully." Zhou Qinghuan took a deep breath. "At most, how far can I go?" The black-robed man said, "Ordinary people can advance to level 4 after losing 3/4 of their life. With the true phoenix blood, you may be much stronger. It depends on whether you want to take the risk or not. If fate is on your side, you might directly become a spiritual overlord." Staring at the bottle again, Zhou Qinghuan gritted her teeth and nodded. "Okay." The black-robed man said, "Then I'll help guard the surroundings for you." Zhou Qinghuan nodded. She removed the cork and drained the bottle in one gulp. Soon, she was surrounded by dense spiritual essence. Meanwhile, in Jun Linyuan's yard, the crown prince kicked the door open and carried Feng Wu inside. "Put me down. Jun Linyuan, you bastard! Put me down!" Feng Wu kept kicking. Anyway, there was no one else in the room. She wasn't afraid of being seen. Jun Linyua stood ramrod straight and his face was grim. He let go at that moment. Feng Wu slipped off his shoulder like a little monkey and stumbled back a few steps before she could steady herself. She stared at Jun Linyuan nervously, ready to fight back at any moment. The crown prince gave Feng Wu an expressionless look before he walked past her into the basement. There was a loud thump. He slammed the door closed. Feng Wu nearly jumped. Why was Jun Linyuan so grumpy? He wasn't the only one who was angry. Feng Wu wondered how many people had seen her like that on the way here. It was so embarrassing. Seeing that Jun Linyuan had gone to the basement, Feng Wu glanced at the front door. She stole a glance behind her and saw that the basement door was closed. She wondered what Jun Linyuan was doing. Should she take the chance while she had it? She made up her mind right away. Feng Wu tiptoed forward and reached out, trying to open the door that led out of the yard. Once she left this place, she would be able to do whatever she wanted. Jun Linyuan would never find her. Feng Wu was a proud girl, but when she touched the doorknob, damn it! What was going on? She couldn't open the door. It was a wooden door, but it seemed to weigh more than 1,000,000 tons. Feng Wu couldn't move it no matter how hard she tried. How was that even possible? Feng Wu was a little anxious. She checked the door carefully, only to find that there was no inscription or formations on it. Holy crap! Feng Wu smacked her head and finally realized something. Chapter 3367 Turn Away. 3367 Turn Away. Jun Linyuan must have set up a barrier around the front door. Unless she could break Jun Linyuan's barrier, she would never get out even if she reached the top level in inscriptions and formations. Damn it! Feng Wu rested her hands on her waist and glared at the front door, as if she held a grudge against it. She couldn't get out. Feng Wu had no choice but to step back and sit down on the step. She put her elbows on her knees and rested her chin in her hands. Jun Linyuan was mad. When was he going to let her out? She had gotten something good from her trip to Dongsang Kingdom, and she wanted to give the sacred golden leg bone to Feng soon. She also had to do experiments on the special blood, and she didn't know if Mr. Su would be able to handle the jets. Feng Wu looked back at the basement door, but it was still closed. She didn't know Jun Linyuan was also staring at the door at that moment. He was so angry that his eyes were about to shoot daggers. Feng Wu frowned. Why was Jun Linyuan so angry? She had only gone out once, and she had come back safe and sound. Why was he so angry? That was unbelievable. However, Feng Wu knew she had made a mistake. Her trip to Sun Castle had been really dangerous, and she had narrowly escaped death. One slip, and she would have been finished. Jun Linyuan was angry probably because he cared about her. Feng Wu wondered if she should reciprocate. Since she didn't have anything better to do, she decided to make nice. Feng Wu rose to her feet and tiptoed toward the basement door. If the proud crown prince set up a barrier around the door to prevent Feng Wu from entering, she would have to give up. However, the door opened at her touch. Was he so angry that he forgot to lock the door? Hearing the sound, Jun Linyuan, who had been fuming, shifted positions. He had been facing the door, but now, he turned away from it. There were no lights in the basement, so it was pitch black. Feng Wu was an expert with the fire elemental, so with a wave of her hand, a flame lit up the wall lamp. The orange light illuminated the entire space. Feng Wu walked down the stairs and soon saw the person with his back to her. Jun Linyuan kept his back straight. He looked like he had been standing there since ancient times, like a lone peak or a sword that had been drawn out of its scabbard. Feng Wu felt a little uneasy. Jun Linyuan had a terrible temper and wasn't easy to coax. However, in order to get out, Feng Wu had to give it her all. She walked over and sat down next to Jun Linyuan without saying anything. She stared at his chiseled face. The crown prince kept a straight face and closed his eyes as if he were cultivating. "Are you hungry?" Feng Wu asked casually. She didn't hear any reply. "Do you want to eat anything? I'll make it for you," Feng Wu said awkwardly. She still didn't hear any reply. "Hey, Jun Linyuan, I've already shown you enough respect by coming here to talk to you. Can you stop being so arrogant?" Feng Wu was a little annoyed that she didn't get a response. Just then, the crown prince stood up. The orange-yellow candlelight made his face hazy. He stared at Feng Wu with his sharp eyes. Then, he turned around expressionlessly and walked away, leaving Feng Wu behind. Feng Wu was speechless. Chapter 3368 Proud Jun Linyuan 1 3368 Proud Jun Linyuan 1. That was very annoying because she had tried so hard. Feng Wu scratched her head, amazed by Jun Linyuan's grumpy temper. What should she do when he left like that? Feng Wu felt conflicted. She sat down cross-legged and racked her brain. What was Jun Linyuan doing now? Would he get even angrier? She knew she made a mistake because she shouldn't have snuck out after promising him not to. Although she had all kinds of reasons such as Bao Er not having much time left and the immortal spiritual fruit had been about to ripen, they were still excuses and couldn't change the fact that she had broken her promise. Ahem! A stifled cough came from inside the house. Someone seemed to be coughing under the blanket after being seriously injured, but didn't want anyone to know about it. Feng Wu felt so sorry for Jun Linyuan. She suddenly remembered that Jun Linyuan had fought Shuizhibei on a mental level. Although they didn't exchange any blows, fighting with mental powers was much more tiring. Did he get injured just then but wouldn't show it because of his ego? Had he been holding back his coughs until now? Just then, she heard another fit of stifled cough. Jun Linyuan seemed to be suppressing his coughing but couldn't hold it back anymore. Feng Wu became anxious. She immediately stood up and rushed toward Jun Linyuan's room. The door wasn't locked, so she opened it right away. As soon as she stuck her head in, she heard his unhappy voice. "Out!" He added coldly, I don't want to see you right now. Feng Wu could imagine how proud Jun Linyuan's expression must be. Was she the type that would leave just because he said so? She could be shameless when she wanted to be. She walked into the room and closed the door behind her. Seeing her coming in, Jun Linyuan turned around in bed so that he was facing away from Feng Wu. Pride must be his middle name, thought Feng Wu. However, she couldn't say that out loud because Jun Linyuan would definitely explode. He was still coughing under the blanket with his back hunched. Feng Wu sighed. Given his injury, what else could she do? Feng Wu took off her shoes and got onto the bed. Looking at the bundle under the blanket, she was speechless. Was he a child? Why was he sulking under the blanket? She wanted to lift the blanket, but Jun Linyuan held it so tightly that she couldn't do anything about it. Feng Wu said, Jun Linyuan, if you keep doing this, I'll pour water on you and soak your blanket. Jun Linyuan snorted and eventually let go. Feng Wu lifted the blanket. It was hot underneath. Feng Wu felt Jun Linyuan's temperature and found him warm. His face was flushed as well. Jun Linyuan turned his back to Feng Wu and buried his face in the pillow. Feng Wu felt like she was practicing how to look after a baby. Hey Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu sat cross-legged on the bed and poked Jun Linyuan's back. Are you mad? Jun Linyuan ignored her. Chapter 3369 Proud Jun Linyuan 2 3369 Proud Jun Linyuan 2. However, this time, he didn't get up and leave, which was slightly better than before. Feng Wu asked, Are you really mad now? Yes. The voice was muffled by the pillow. Feng Wu wanted to laugh, but she managed to stop herself. If she laughed, Jun Linyuan would be furious. To someone as proud as Jun Linyuan, being right or wrong didn't matter, but attitude did. That was a conclusion Feng Wu had reached recently. She had to play along with him. Forcing back her laughter, Feng Wu asked seriously, Why are you mad? Jun Linyuan threw a dirty look at her and turned away from her again. Feng Wu had some idea. She tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve and shook it a little. Jun Linyuan, please don't be angry. The crown prince snorted and remained unmoved. Feng Wu said, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone out after promising you that I wouldn't run around. Instead, I ended up at Sun Castle. It was my fault. I didn't keep my promise. Only then did the crown prince relax a little. Feng Wu saw that she had a chance. Her gaze shifted, and her tone became gentler. I know. I can give many reasons, but reasons are excuses. If I'm wrong, I should admit it. I'll apologize to you, okay? Her tone was soft, and she kept tugging at his sleeve. That was the right attitude. Feng Wu stole a glance at Jun Linyuan, wondering if he was happy now. However, the crown prince was a little too angry this time, so he didn't turn around. Feng Wu rolled over and landed on the other side of Jun Linyuan so that she was facing him. As petite as she was, she fit right into the space between Jun Linyuan and the wall. She looked up and met Jun Linyuan's bright eyes. Jun Linyuan's chin was at the level of her forehead. She gently touched Jun Linyuan's cheek as if she was caressing a cat. Jun Linyuan glanced at her and looked away, refusing to meet her eyes. But he didn't tell her to stop either. Feng Wu moved her hand upward and touched his hair. Jun Linyuan still didn't stop her. Feng Wu grew bolder. She took Jun Linyuan's hand and said softly, Brother Jun, I'm sorry. Please don't be mad. Jun Linyuan remained unmoved. Feng Wu gritted her teeth. If you keep doing this, I'll be mad too, and you won't be able to make me happy. The crown prince clicked his tongue and looked down at Feng Wu. He kept a straight face and said in a low voice, Do you know what you did wrong? Feng Wu was delighted to hear that. She smiled and looked like a dog wagging its tail. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry. Feng Wu snuggled into Jun Linyuan's arms like a clingy kitten. No matter how angry Jun Linyuan was, He couldn't vent his anger on this girl. He could only stare at Feng Wu and ask in the same way that Feng Wu was familiar with, "What did you do wrong?" Feng Wu expected this. Hence, she nodded earnestly. "I was wrong. I shouldn't have disobeyed you and snuck out. I almost died in the Sun Castle. I was so wrong." Feng Wu pursed her lips and put on a pitiful look. Chapter 3370 Proud Jun Linyuan 3. 3370 Proud Jun Linyuan 3. She was so cute. The Crown Prince felt he could never get tired of her. The Crown Prince, who was a spiritual saint and could fight on equal footing with Shuizhibei, couldn't do anything to the girl in front of him. He gritted his teeth. "You admitted your mistake fast enough. That's right." Feng Wu wrapped her arms around his waist like a koala and nodded enthusiastically. She didn't feel embarrassed at all. There was nothing the Crown Prince could do about this shameless girl. His raised hand finally landed on the top of her head. This girl must have been sent by God to torture him. Otherwise, how could she affect his emotions like this? He used to be a calm person. "So, are you still angry now?" In order to appease him, Feng Wu used all her means. The Crown Prince grunted. The girl poked his chest with a slender finger. "Then let's not be mad now, okay?" The Crown Prince darted a look at her and pretended to think. If he could think, it meant that he wasn't angry anymore, right? "You're not mad anymore, are you?" Feng Wu looked at him seriously. The Crown Prince snorted, rolled over, and put his hands behind his head. He crossed his legs and looked very proud. All he needed was a stalk of straw between his teeth. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him. "Happy now? Since you're not angry anymore, I can go now." Feng Wu got out of bed and headed for the door. "No!" The Crown Prince tugged at Feng Wu's skirt. Poor Feng Wu. She slipped and fell into Jun Linyuan's arms. Feng Wu kicked around and struggled to get up, but she didn't know where Jun Linyuan was holding on to her, but she couldn't turn over. She was like a little turtle lying on its back, and nothing she did worked. Feng Wu was furious and she shouted, "Jun Linyuan, stop! Let me get up!" Maybe Jun Linyuan found the turtle so funny that he laughed out loud. Feng Wu was so angry. "Jun Linyuan, why are you laughing? Shut up!" Feng Wu yelled in frustration. "You look like a chubby turtle." The Crown Prince couldn't stop laughing now. It was rare for Jun Linyuan, who usually only smiled a little, to laugh out loud. Feng Wu didn't understand why he called her a chubby turtle. How could Feng Wu accept that? Hence, the two of them struggled in bed. By the time Feng Wu left the courtyard, it was getting late. OMG! Feng Wu smacked her forehead. She had been so angry with Jun Linyuan that she had forgotten something so important. Feng Sun's golden leg bone. At that thought, Feng Wu hurried toward the colonel's quarters where Feng Sun was. Feng Sun was indeed there. "Little Feng Wu? What's wrong?" Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu in confusion. Feng Wu said, "What do you mean? What's wrong?" Feng Sun said, "Your hair is a little messy. Were you fighting?" Feng Wu said, "Well, of course not. I wouldn't do such a thing." Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu in suspicion. "It's just a question. Why do you look so guilty?" Feng Wu glared at Feng Sun. Don't be ridiculous. I was about to give you a present. Do you want it or not?" Feng Sun shrugged. "A present? I can have everything I want. Why would I care about a present? Hey, tell me, who did you fight with? Zhuo Qingluan? Did you beat her up?" Chapter 3371 True Phoenix Blood. 3371 True Phoenix Blood. Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun in confusion. "Why would I beat her up?" Feng Sun said, "Didn't she pretend to be Boss Jun's fiancé? Aren't you angry?" Feng Wu asked, "Why should I be angry?" Feng Sun said, "You're the real fiancé. How can you not be angry?" Feng Wu said, Who said I'm the real fiancé? Don't slander me. Feng Sun said, Gosh, aren't you going to admit it? We all saw Boss June carry you back to this room. He didn't sound too happy because it seemed like his lovely sister had run off with a boy. Feng Wu nudged him. What are you talking about? Nothing happened between him and me. Fine. Feng Sun obviously didn't believe her. Feng Wu didn't want to talk to him anymore and threw a box into his hand. Do you want your present or not? Feng Sun was very unyielding. I'm a dignified young lord. Why would I want some random gift? Feng Sun had only opened the box halfway, when he saw a complete leg bone inside. A sacred golden leg bone? Feng Sun's eyes lit up. Feng Wu nodded and was about to take the box away. Hey, what are you doing? Feng Sun quickly held the box in his arms and turned away, staring at Feng Wu warily. Feng Wu said, I thought you didn't need anything. Give it back. Feng Sun said, What are you talking about? I'll take it. Feng Wu said, Didn't you say you have everything? Feng Sun said, Xiao Wu, you're the cutest and the most amazing girl. You're a fairy from heaven and you're as beautiful as a flower. There are two kinds of adorable girls. One is smart and the other is beautiful. You're the smartest beautiful girl. All right. Feng Wu, who had her hands on her hips, waved at Feng Sun. I know you can't wait to fuse with the sacred golden leg bone. I'm off. No problem. Feng Sun answered quickly. Feng Wu almost stumbled when she reached the threshold. After leaving the house, Feng Wu walked through the Dark Colonel's quarters. Suddenly, she smacked her head. How could she have forgotten such an important thing? The Magical Equipment Division. Feng Wu clearly remembered that she had told Master Wang and Aunt Qing that she would be back in 3 days. 3 days had passed. Feng Wu looked up at the sky. It was already close to midnight. After midnight, it would be the 4th day, which meant that Feng Wu would have broken her promise. At that thought, Feng Wu hurried toward the West Mountain. It would take someone else 2 hours to get to the Magical Equipment Division, but Feng Wu could get there in less than an hour if she was fast enough. Feng Wu didn't know Zhou Qingluan had also gone to the West Mountain to cultivate. There were very few people in the West Mountain, unlike the Dayless Woods, which would expose Zhou Qingluan to everyone. Zhou Qingluan had already taken the medicine, and her body was undergoing intense changes. Level 3 Spiritual Lord. Level 4 Spiritual Lord. After 2 consecutive breakthroughs, Zhou Qingluan paused for a moment before she drank the poisonous potion again, entering the second wave of cultivation. Level 5 Spiritual Lord. Level 6 Spiritual Lord. A satisfied smile appeared on the face of the black-robed man who had given her the instructions. Zhou Qingluan was indeed of the true Phoenix blood lineage. Chapter 3372 The Spy 1. 3372 The Spy 1. It seems Zhou Qingluan indeed had the precious true Phoenix blood. She was making more breakthroughs than he had imagined. Initially, he told her she could become a level 6 spiritual king, but that rarely happened. After all, the special blood developed by the Dongsang Kingdom was still in the early stages, and its effects varied. If one wasn't careful, one could easily explode and die. The black-robed man stared at Zhou Qingluan and saw she was in extreme pain. Half of her body was on fire, and the other half felt like it was in an icehouse. How did the black-robed man know? It was quite obvious. Zhou Qingluan looked like she was on fire on one side of her body, and her exposed skin was fiery red. The other side of her body was covered in a layer of frost. She gritted her teeth as her entire body trembled. She was clearly in extreme pain. The black-robed man knew very well that if she could fuse the 2 sides, her capability would advance another step. The possibility of the fire and water fusing was almost zero. Because until now, no one in the Dongsang Kingdom had successfully done it. To put it bluntly, This special blood potion was a catalyst that triggered an increase of spiritual essence by overdrawing one's life essence. The Dongsang Kingdom naturally didn't dare use it casually, but it could be used as a trump card for a final counterattack. No one knew about this trump card yet. Zhuo Qingluan was just a test subject chosen by the black-robed man. Moreover, she was the best test subject among the current ones. The black-robed man was overjoyed that he had found this test subject. Ah! Zhuo Qingluan threw her head back and howled in pain. Just then, Feng Wu appeared at the foot of the mountain. Who was it? Who was screaming so late at night? Feng Wu was intrigued. Driven by curiosity, she sped toward the source of the noise. It took Feng Wu a long time to arrive at the most remote valley in the West Mountain. She looked down from above. Under the faint moonlight and starlight, a woman sat cross-legged in the forest. She had her hands on her knees and had closed her eyes to cultivate. One side of her was on fire, and the other side was as cold as ice. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. She recognized Zhuo Qingluan, but what surprised her, even more, was the aura that Zhuo Qingluan was emitting. While she was cultivating, she made a move, and a huge hole appeared in front of her. Since when did Zhuo Qingluan become so powerful? Wasn't she a level 2 spiritual king? Just then, Feng Wu heard someone say, "Good. You're already a level 6 spiritual king. You'll be a level 7 spiritual king when you combine the ice and fire. Zhuo Qingluan, you're in pain right now, but it's just physical pain. If you don't succeed, Feng Wu will mock you, and that'll be the greatest pain in the world, won't it? So, Zhuo Qingluan, you have to hold on. Once you kill Feng Wu, Jun Linyuan will be yours." The black-robed man didn't realize there was someone on the hill not far from them, so he spoke without any scruples. Feng Wu was speechless. Who was this black-robed person? He was blocked by a huge tree, so she really hadn't seen him clearly earlier. Zhuo Qingluan didn't say anything, but Feng Wu could tell the pain on her face had lessened a little. Feng Wu frowned. Who was this black-robed man? Plus, Feng Wu looked at the bottle that Zhuo Qingluan had tossed aside. Chapter 3373 The Spy 2. 3373 The Spy 2. Feng Wu couldn't see clearly in the moonlight, but it seemed to be a dark mass. "Get out here!" Just then, a cold gaze landed on Feng Wu. It was the gaze of a superior cultivator. Feng Wu didn't have time to turn around and run. "Miss Feng Wu, I didn't expect to run into you here." The man in the black robe smiled at Feng Wu. Feng Wu took a deep breath. "Go find help." Feng Wu let Little Phoenix out. Little Phoenix panicked because the man in the black robe was much stronger than Feng Wu. He was obviously above the spiritual overlord stage, and looked like an enemy. If he attacked Feng Wu, Little Phoenix wanted to stay here to help Feng Wu, but it had to get some help. Seeing Feng Wu's glare, the bird finally nodded and flew off. Get some help. The magical equipment division was full of newbies, so Little Phoenix wouldn't go looking for them. Therefore, its first goal was to find Jun Linyuan. Little Phoenix didn't want to talk to Jun Linyuan, but it had no choice but to ask for help. After letting Little Phoenix go, Feng Wu looked at the black-robed man and smiled. "I think I've seen you before," Feng Wu said curiously. She couldn't beat him, so she needed to stall and wait for help to arrive. The black-robed man was completely covered in black. He also had a black hood over his head. The black robe was loose, so no one could tell what his body type was. His face was also hidden under the mask. The mask was a ghost face drawn with black ink on a white mask. That face could scare people to death even during the day, let alone in the wilderness at night. "I really think I've seen you somewhere before." The more Feng Wu looked at him, the more she found him familiar. The black-robed man sneered. The only part of him that was exposed was the pair of eyes peeking out through the eye sockets of the mask. The openings were very small, so one could only see his black pupils, which was even more sinister. Ha ha! The man in the black robe smirked and didn't answer Feng Wu. He looked back at Zhuo Qingluan and saw that she was almost done with the fusion. His eyes lit up. I did want to kill you, the black-robed man said bluntly. Although you have immense talent, you haven't cultivated for long, and you're still too weak. It's easy for me to kill you. Feng Wu said, should I thank you for sparing my life? The black-robed man didn't reply. He just talked to himself. But now I've changed my mind. He sneered. You're still useful alive. Feng Wu knew this man was up to no good. As expected, the black-robed man said, your divine phoenix blood is quite valuable. Feng Wu's face darkened. Are you after my divine phoenix blood? The black-robed man didn't deny it. That's right. Feng Wu snorted. Even if you take the divine phoenix blood, it won't help. The black-robed man smiled. It's useless to other people, but it'll be perfect for her. The black-robed man was referring to Zhuo Qingluan. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Her? The black-robed man nodded. If you can fuse with the divine phoenix blood, why can't she? Feng Wu said, that's because. The man in the black robe stared at Feng Wu and smirked. You're able to fuse with the divine phoenix blood because your true phoenix blood was crippled. Tell me, why can't Zhuo Qingluan do the same? Chapter 3374 3374 The Spy 3 3374 The Spy 3 Feng Wu felt a chill run down her spine. What the black-robed man wanted was insane. He really was after her divine phoenix blood. Feng Wu smiled. You're from the Dongsheng Kingdom. She was very certain. The black-robed man's eyes were dark and ruthless. He didn't say anything. Feng Wu said, you have the Dongsheng Kingdom's aura. The black-robed man smiled coldly again. Suddenly, Feng Wu frowned. I must have seen you somewhere before. In fact, Feng Wu had been trying to trick the man, but now she really felt she had seen him somewhere before because he felt very familiar. The man in the black robe stared at Feng Wu and sighed. Tell me, do you want to die? Feng Wu asked. What? The black-robed man said. Why do you have to dig out my identity? You know too much. Shouldn't you die? So, this man was indeed a member of Nest Fortress. He was also a spiritual overlord. Staring at the special blood on the ground, and then at the man in black, Feng Wu clasped her hands behind her back and said calmly, I think I know who you are. Oh? Who am I? The black-robed man seemed to be very curious. Feng Wu looked up at the moon. Where was her godfather? Even if Little Phoenix couldn't find her godfather, it could at least get Mr. Lu or Mr. Su here. Elder Helion or Elder Dongfang would do too. Otherwise, she really would be killed today. Feng Wu said, You're a spiritual overlord from Nest. Feng Wu could tell that the man in the black robe had stiffened a little, although he was still smirking and his expression didn't change. Feng Wu knew she was right. Feng Wu said, Not only are you a spiritual overlord in Nest, you're also an elder. The man just snorted. Feng Wu was trying her best to stall for time, so she spoke very slowly. The black-robed man stared at Feng Wu. Is that all? Feng Wu said, No, that's not all. I also know you're an elder of the military academy. Sure enough, although the man didn't move his eyes, Feng Wu could tell he was getting more and more aggressive. He wanted to silence her. He asked, Anything else? Feng Wu said, You're not just any elder under Elder Dongfang. I've already figured out who you are. The black-robed man asked, Really? Who am I? Feng Wu scolded, Elder Dai, you're a spy from the Dongsheng Kingdom. How long are you going to keep it a secret? The black-robed man stared at Feng Wu and his eyes glowed. The next moment, he reached out, trying to strangle Feng Wu to death. How did you recognize me? The man wrapped his fingers around Feng Wu's neck, but wasn't squeezing yet. He could do it at any moment. Feng Wu's life was in his hands. Feng Wu said, so I was right. The black-robed man snorted. Were you bluffing? Feng Wu said, not exactly, but I couldn't make up my mind between you and another elder. If you hadn't lost your composure, I wouldn't have figured out it was you. The black-robed man sneered. Who knew you would die because you talked too much? Feng Wu asked, are you going to kill me? The man said, do you think I can keep you alive? Although Feng Wu was in danger of having her throat snapped at any moment, she remained calm and collected. I think it's best if you don't kill me. Chapter 3375 So embarrassing. 3375 So embarrassing. Feng Wu said, I'm much more valuable than you think. The black-robed man said nothing. Feng Wu said seriously, do you want to know who stole the fighter jets? The black-robed man said, it was you? Feng Wu nodded seriously. So, Mr. Sakia and your General Shui must be dying to kill me right now. If you can capture me alive, you'll have done an unprecedented job. The black-robed man said, I can achieve the same goal with your dead body. Feng Wu said, if I die, you won't be able to prove I was the one who stole the fighter jets and messed up Sun Castle. You'll only have a chance if I'm alive. An exclamation came from behind the black-robed man. What fighter jets? Zhuo Qingluan was excluded from the high-ranking officials, so she had no access to confidential information. That was why she still didn't know that Feng Wu had turned Sun Castle upside down. The black-robed man smirked and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu couldn't wait to buy as much time as possible. Hence, she told Zhuo Qingluan how she single-handedly turned Sun Castle upside down. Mr. Sakia was so angry that he almost vomited blood. The black-robed man wanted to slap Feng Wu to death several times, and the blood vessels on his forehead were about to burst. However, he held back in the end. Feng Wu was right. She was only valuable when she was alive. If she were dead, she wasn't worth anything. The moment Feng Wu saw Zhuo Qingluan, she thought of the 11th trial, which she had been stuck on for a long time. She had to make Zhuo Qingluan admit that Jun Linyuan was in love with Feng Wu. An idea dawned on Feng Wu. She didn't know when she would see Zhuo Qingluan next. She couldn't follow Zhuo Qingluan everywhere just to complete the trial. Feng Wu felt she would be wasting this opportunity that God had given her if she didn't seize it. Since she was trying to stall for time, she might as well go after Zhuo Qingluan. Hence, Feng Wu threw a haughty look at Zhuo Qingluan. I single-handedly caused so much damage to Sun Castle. How about that? I'm the only one who could have done it. Zhuo Qingluan, you've been trying to compete with me but have achieved nothing. Do you think you can do what I've done? Zhuo Qingluan's face darkened. If what Feng Wu said was true, Zhuo Qingluan would kneel in front of her. Liar! Zhuo Qingluan didn't want to waste her breath on Feng Wu. However, the black-robed man stared at Zhuo Qingluan and said, she's not lying. Zhuo Qingluan stared at Feng Wu in shock. Feng Wu was so pleased with herself that she would have wagged her tail if she had won. Surprised, aren't you? See how shocked you are. I knew it, you wouldn't have been able to do what I did. Zhuo Qingluan, how can you compare with me? Feng Wu finally got to the point. Was that what she wanted to show off to Zhuo Qingluan? Of course not. It was Jun Linyuan whom she wanted to show off. She needed to complete the 11th trial of the 12 trials of love. Feng Wu darted a smug look at Zhuo Qingluan. Do you know what Jun Linyuan thinks of me? By the way, you saw him carry me all the way back to his place, didn't you? At that moment, the Crown Prince, who was being led by Little Phoenix, was about to step forward, but he stopped when he heard what Feng Wu said. Little Phoenix, who was behind Jun Linyuan, heard what Feng Wu said as well. It felt so embarrassed for Feng Wu. OMG! How could she say that at a time like this? Shut up. It was so embarrassing. Chapter 3376 3376 Do you admit it? 1. 3376 Do you admit it? 1. Little Phoenix wanted to warn Feng Wu, but Jun Linyuan was too terrifying. Just standing there, he emitted the aura of an emperor. Little Phoenix shuddered and immediately shut its mouth. Little Phoenix was baffled. It had thought only God Mu was worthy of such respect, but Jun Linyuan had just become the second person. The bird was a being that even dared to slap Chu Tianxiao's face with its tail. Little Phoenix was resentful, but things were different now. Worried that Jun Linyuan would crush it, it lowered its head and hoped Feng Wu could take care of herself. But Feng Wu had no idea Jun Linyuan had arrived, and was still showing off. Clasping her hands behind her back, she straightened her back and boasted, "You saw it with your own eyes. Jun Linyuan carried me back to the yard, but do you know what we were doing in the room? You'll be scared to death if I tell you." Zhuo Qingluan's face darkened. Feng Wu added, "I'm telling you, Brother Jun will always be mine. Admit it." Zhuo Qingluan was furious. Feng Wu wondered why Zhuo Qingluan wouldn't admit it. She already felt a little embarrassed at saying all those things. Zhuo Qingluan took a deep breath and smirked at Feng Wu. "You want me to admit the crown prince likes you? No way." Feng Wu was furious. Why was she so difficult to deal with? She wouldn't agree with anything. Feng Wu wondered if she had to beat Zhuo Qingluan into submission. "I can tell you what you want to hear, if you agree to my request." Zhuo Qingluan glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, "Do tell." Zhuo Qingluan said, "Defeat me and I'll say it." Feng Wu frowned. "You're so weak. Wouldn't it make sense for me to beat you?" Zhuo Qingluan's expression darkened. She suddenly chuckled. "Do you think I'm the same person you used to know? Feng Wu, you're too full of yourself." Looking at the spiritual essence around Zhuo Qingluan, Feng Wu realized that she was no longer a level 2 spiritual king. "You're more than a level 6 spiritual king now?" Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. "To be more precise, I'm a level 7 spiritual king now." Zhuo Qingluan looked indescribably pleased. "And you're only at level 6. Feng Wu stared at the blood bottle on the ground, then at the black-robed man. "Is this the special blood of the Dongseng Kingdom?" Feng Wu's face darkened. If the special blood could help a person advance from level 2 to level 7, how would the Junwu Empire survive if the Dongseng Kingdom produced this special blood on a large scale? The black-robed man smiled and nodded at Feng Wu. "You're right, but you know too much." That was why he had to kill Feng Wu tonight. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu said to Zhuo Qingluan, "Then I'll beat you into submission." Zhuo Qingluan was furious. How dare a level 6 spiritual king say such a thing to a level 7 spiritual king? What a joke! Before Feng Wu could say anything, Zhuo Qingluan struck first. Zhuo Qingluan seemed to have the help of God. She moved incredibly fast. By the time Feng Wu realized what was going on, Zhuo Qingluan was already a few meters away from her. Die! Zhuo Qingluan had used all her strength in that attack. Chapter 3377 3377 Do you admit it? 2. 3377 Do you admit it? 2. Zhuo Qingluan was going to kill Feng Wu with one move. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes. He was going to help, but then he remembered what Feng Wu had said. He remembered Feng Wu saying that killing Zhuo Qingluan was her goal, and no one else was allowed to help. At that thought, the crown prince leaned against a peach tree with his hands on his sword. The peach blossoms fell off the branches at the sword's energy, but no one noticed the peerless youth who was watching the battle. The black-robed man was watching the fight between Zhuo Qingluan and Feng Wu. However, after 3 moves, Zhuo Qingluan still couldn't take Feng Wu down. Feng Wu had been suppressed at first, but now, she was getting used to Zhuo Qingluan's move. The man's heart skipped a beat. He felt a cold gaze on him in the darkness. Feng Wu knew too many secrets. He couldn't let her live. He felt that Zhuo Qingluan was useless. She was now a level 7 spiritual king, but she still couldn't defeat a level 6 one. At that thought, the black-robed man decided to join the battle and help Zhuo Qingluan take down Feng Wu as soon as possible. However, before the black-robed man could step forward, he felt incredible pressure wrap around him. It was as if an invisible person had grabbed him by his collar from behind. He was suddenly pulled back. The black-robed man panicked. What the hell? Flying through the air, he saw that he was getting further and further away from the battlefield. Behind him, it was as if a big mouth was ready to devour him. He wanted to look back, but his body was stiff, and he couldn't move. Boom! The black-robed man's back hit the ground. He wanted to jump up, but to his horror, he realized that most of the bones in his body seemed to have been broken. He couldn't move at all. He turned around and looked under the peach blossom tree. There was a young man there. The young man had a handsome face like peach blossoms. He was graceful and stood out like a light in the darkness. When the black-robed man looked over, the young man glanced at him out of the corner of his eye. That one look frightened the black-robed man. It was Jun Linyuan. Without any other thoughts, the black-robed man turned around and wanted to escape. However, before he could take another step, Jun Linyuan frowned and pointed at the ground. Stay there! With a flick of Jun Linyuan's finger, the man in the black robe knelt on the ground and remained in that position. It was as if his body couldn't move at all. Time seemed to have stopped. Feng Wu and Zhuo Qingluan were already halfway through the battle. During the first half of the battle, Feng Wu focused on defense. However, as Feng Wu gradually figured out Zhuo Qingluan's moves, Zhuo Qingluan had no choice but to switch to defense. More importantly, Zhuo Qingluan would use formations and inscriptions when she was fighting with others, which were very effective. However, Feng Wu had the upper hand when Zhuo Qingluan tried to use the same techniques on her. In terms of pure combat ability, Feng Wu was used to fighting above her level. Zhuo Qingluan had just reached level 7 and wasn't familiar with using the spiritual essence yet. The longer the battle went on, the more advantageous it would be for Feng Wu. As a level 6 spiritual king, Feng Wu still managed to suppress Zhuo Qingluan. Boom! Feng Wu punched Zhuo Qingluan in the shoulder. Zhuo Qingluan had already been overwhelmed by Feng Wu, and now, Feng Wu took the opportunity to throw a punch at Zhuo Qingluan, who had no choice but to take it. Zhuo Qingluan felt as if her left shoulder had collapsed. The sound of bones breaking rang out in her ears. Her beautiful shoulder blade was probably broken. Zhuo Qingluan glared at Feng Wu. You must be so proud of yourself. Feng Wu smiled. You're a level 7 spiritual king, and I'm only a level 6 one, but I've cornered you. Why shouldn't I be proud of myself? Chapter 3378, 3378 Do you admit it? 3. 3378 Do you admit it? 3. Zhuo Qingluan was furious. Just then, Feng Wu punched Zhuo Qingluan in the face. This time, it affected the bridge of her nose. Zhuo Qingluan had a pretty nose. It was delicate and straight, giving her face a well-defined look. However, Feng Wu's punch almost broke her nose. Zhuo Qingluan gasped. That hurt. Tears rolled down Zhuo Qingluan's cheeks. Feng Wu stared at her. Will you surrender? Zhuo Qingluan said stubbornly, I won't. Not far away, the black-robed man was already feeling sorry for Zhuo Qingluan. Young lady, what are you waiting for? Run for your life. However, on second thought, with Jun Linyuan around, Zhuo Qingluan wouldn't be able to escape. The black-robed man fell into despair. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and Zhuo Qingluan were in the middle of their fight. Feng Wu was so focused on completing the 11th trial, and Zhuo Qingluan was so focused on defeating Feng Wu, that they didn't notice what was happening around them. Feng Wu said, You said you would say those words. Zhuo Qingluan said, Over my dead body. Feng Wu was annoyed. This woman was so stubborn. When would Feng Wu ever finish the 11th trial? The more Feng Wu thought about it, the angrier she got. She threw herself at Zhuo Qingluan. Before Zhuo Qingluan could react, she was on the ground. Zhuo Qingluan was pinned to the ground, and Feng Wu sat on her stomach. She slapped Zhuo Qingluan. "Are you going to yield or not?" Zhuo Qingluan was dumbfounded. She never thought she would be in such a situation one day. Before Zhuo Qingluan could react, Feng Wu slapped her again. "Answer me!" Feng Wu had every right to be angry. Back then, everything had gone well for Feng Wu in the imperial capital, but Zhuo Qingluan had been jealous of her true phoenix blood, which was superior to hers, and had played a series of tricks on Feng Wu. As a result, Feng Wu's beautiful master was still unconscious in her storage space, and she didn't know when he would wake up. As for Feng Wu's family, they were forced to move to northern border city. Feng Wu's cultivation was also delayed. Because of Zhuo Qingluan, Feng Wu's progress had been delayed for 5 years. If she hadn't lost those 5 years, she might not be as strong as Jun Linyuan now, but her capability would at least be close to his. The more Feng Wu thought about it, the angrier she got. Zhuo Qingluan, on the other hand, glared at Feng Wu. "You hit me? How dare you?" Feng Wu punched her. "So what? I'm going to kill you." Zhuo Qingluan smirked at Feng Wu's raised hand. "If you kill me, you'll never know where your father is." Feng Wu said, "My father is sitting in the general's mansion." Zhuo Qingluan smirked. "I'm talking about your biological father." Feng Wu narrowed her eyes and looked at Zhuo Qingluan with expressionless eyes. Zhuo Qingluan snorted. "Don't you want to know where your biological father is?" Feng Wu stared at her. "Tell me." Zhuo Qingluan said, "I won't tell you." What did you put in my mouth?" Zhuo Qingluan stared at Feng Wu in horror. Because Feng Wu had stuffed a pill into her mouth while she was talking. She wanted to spit it out, but Feng Wu grabbed her by the throat and let the pill roll down her throat. The pill took effect instantly. Zhuo Qingluan's head spun, and her vision got blurry. Chapter 3379 3379 Do you admit it? 4. 3379 Do you admit it? 4. Truth pill. You. Zhuo Qingluan struggled. However, she realized Feng Wu was too strong. Feng Wu's hands were like iron clamps, and Zhuo Qingluan couldn't fight back at all. Zhuo Qingluan was in despair. "Feng Wu, I'm going to kill you." Zhuo Qingluan also had medical knowledge, so she knew how terrifying the truth pill was. It was a pill that could pry out all her secrets. Sitting on top of Zhuo Qingluan, Feng Wu watched as the drug took effect. Only then did she get off Zhuo Qingluan and sit down opposite her. Zhuo Qingluan had been resisting inwardly. She told herself she couldn't let the truth pill control her. She had too many secrets. Where was the black-robed man? Wasn't he very powerful? Why didn't he come out? Did he run away? Zhuo Qingluan looked around, trying to find the man in the black robe while she could still think straight. Soon, she saw the teenager under the peach blossom tree. She saw his handsome face and imposing aura, as well as the black-robed man who knelt in front of him and didn't dare to move. Zhuo Qingluan met Jun Linyuan's eyes. At that moment, Zhuo Qingluan's mind went blank. Feng Wu stared at her coldly. "Is my biological father still alive?" Zhuo Qingluan was stunned and didn't respond. Feng Wu stared at her and said in an unusually harsh tone, "Is my biological father still alive?" Zhuo Qingluan seemed to slowly come back to her senses. She wanted to say nothing, but under the effect of the truth pill, she couldn't control the words that came out of her throat. She gritted her teeth. "He's alive." Feng Wu was hugely relieved. In fact, she had always had doubts in her heart all these years. How could her father disappear into thin air? Why had he never returned after so many years? Was he in trouble? Or was he already dead? But Feng Wu never dared to say anything because her family had already agreed he was dead, and she didn't have any leads. It would only hurt her family more if she suggested he was still alive. Where is he? Feng Wu stared so hard that the muscles at the corners of her eyes twitched. Zhuo Qingluan didn't want to say anything. She was trying her best to restrain herself. But in the end, she couldn't help but tell Feng Wu, "He's on the other side of the ocean." Feng Wu frowned. The other side of the ocean? You mean a country on the other side of the ocean? Zhuo Qingluan gritted her teeth. Yes. Feng Wu asked, "How do you know?" Zhuo Qingluan said, "I'm not telling you. My master. I heard her talking to someone about it." Feng Wu asked, "What else did your master say?" Zhuo Qingluan stared at Feng Wu. "Your father is in that country. You won't want to know." Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. What did Zhuo Qingluan mean by she wouldn't want to know? Zhuo Qingluan's willpower was beginning to return, and it wouldn't be easy for Feng Wu to ask about her father again. Hence, Feng Wu suddenly said, "Zhuo Qingluan, do you admit that Jun Linyuan likes me?" As soon as she said that, the young man under the peach blossom tree froze. The fearless crown prince was getting nervous. Feng Wu stared at Zhuo Qingluan again. "Do you admit it or not?" Zhuo Qingluan felt like her head was being pricked with needles. She didn't want to admit it. She'd rather die than admit it. Chapter 3380 The Crown Prince's Girl 1 3380 The Crown Prince's Girl 1 But Zhuo Qingluan couldn't control her mind. She stared at Feng Wu, her eyes bulging. In the end, she finally nodded. "Yes, he likes you." As soon as Zhuo Qingluan said that, Feng Wu heard a scream in her head. Arg! It was the fairy, who had been silent for a long time. The fairy jumped up and down excitedly. She admitted it. She admitted it. She admitted it. She really admitted it. Our difficult 11th trial is finally going to be completed. Feng Wu was very nervous. In the end, it wasn't the fairy who decided that the trial had been completed, but the system. Sure enough, a few seconds later, the system informed Feng Wu that the 11th trial of the 12 trials of love had been completed. Wow! Feng Wu almost burst into tears. Zhuo Qingluan was such a stubborn girl. She just wouldn't admit it until right now. Feng Wu had been stuck on this trial for so long and almost couldn't complete it. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Zhuo Qingluan. "You've finally said it." Meanwhile, Zhuo Qingluan was gradually regaining her senses. She was mentally strong, so she still remembered what Feng Wu had asked her. Especially the last sentence. Zhuo Qingluan gave Feng Wu a suspicious look. "Why do you care so much about what I think?" Feng Wu asked. "What?" Zhuo Qingluan said, "Do you have to get my approval whether the crown prince likes you or not? It's as if he can't like you without my permission." Feng Wu was speechless. Who would have known the 12 trials of love would be so troublesome? Zhuo Qingluan said, "I won't admit it now. The crown prince doesn't even like you." Feng Wu looked at Zhuo Qingluan as if the latter had lost her mind. "It's none of my business whether you want to admit it or not. You're taking yourself too seriously." The 11th trial had been completed, and Feng Wu wasn't going to indulge Zhuo Qingluan anymore. She smiled. "A conspiracy with the Dongseng Kingdom? Zhuo Qingluan, you're quite bold. How dare you collude with the enemy?" "I didn't." Zhuo Qingluan denied it. Feng Wu was speechless. "Do you think you can still deny it?" Zhuo Qingluan said, "I didn't. You're slandering me." Feng Wu waved the spiritual fossil stone in her hand. "Don't you know I have a spiritual fossil stone? I recorded everything that happened between you and the black-robed man." Zhuo Qingluan's face went pale. She gritted her teeth and stared at Feng Wu. "Feng Wu, I didn't know you were like this." Feng Wu said, "Why? Did you think I would be the same Feng Wu who didn't dare say anything after the Zhuo family destroyed my true phoenix blood?" Zhuo Qingluan took a deep breath. What do you want? Feng Wu said, I'll expose your crimes in front of everyone. You'll tell the world what you did to me back then. Zhuo Qingluan shook her head. That's impossible. Feng Wu said, You have to. Zhuo Qingluan looked at Feng Wu and smiled. That's impossible. With that, Zhuo Qingluan slowly backed away. Feng Wu said, This is the West Mountain. Where can you go? As soon as she said that, there was an explosion. White light surrounded Zhuo Qingluan. A thick white mist covered dozens of square meters around Zhuo Qingluan. Feng Wu took a deep breath. The air was so spicy that she almost burst into tears. It was an escape bomb. Only a spiritual saint could produce one with their spiritual essence. How could Zhuo Qingluan have one? Chapter 3381 The Crown Prince's Girl 2 3381 The Crown Prince's Girl 2 However, the next second, there was a loud thump. Zhuo Qingluan, who was flying in the air, was dragged back by a huge force, just like what happened to the black-robed man from before. Zhuo Qingluan was in the air, and she wanted to rush forward, but she felt as if someone was pulling her back. She couldn't resist. Boom! Like the black-robed man, Zhuo Qingluan landed on her back and smashed a hole in the ground. Feng Wu finally saw the teenager under the peach blossom tree. His face was like a peach blossom as he leaned in a relaxed manner against the tree trunk. He held his sword in his arms and looked carefree. Amidst the falling petals, the teenager raised his eyebrows and looked into Feng Wu's eyes. His eyes were like deep pools. It felt like there were 1,000 words in his mind, but he didn't know where to begin. Their eyes met, and time seemed to stop at that moment. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Jun Linyuan? Jun Linyuan? When did he arrive? What did he hear? Feng Wu looked at Little Phoenix, who was standing not far behind Jun Linyuan. Little Phoenix covered its face with its wings and only dared to peek at Feng Wu through them. Seeing the look on Little Phoenix's face, Feng Wu knew exactly what had happened. Jun Linyuan must have heard it. She wanted to roll over the ground with her hands over her head. How embarrassing! Feng Wu flushed and couldn't look Jun Linyuan in the eye. She wanted to turn around and leave. In fact, that was exactly what she did. You don't want this person anymore. Seeing how shy she was, the crown prince was in a good mood. Zhuo Qingluan had never seen Jun Linyuan like this before. Also, what did he mean by this person? Didn't she have a name? Zhuo Qingluan didn't want to get up again. One of Feng Wu's biggest strengths was her thick skin. After the initial awkwardness, she quickly convinced herself it was fine. In any case, she hadn't been speaking her mind. She had tricked Zhuo Qingluan in order to complete the 11th trial. So what if Jun Linyuan heard it? After mentally preparing herself, although she was still a little embarrassed, she felt much better. Feng Wu ran up to Jun Linyuan and said in a sweet voice, Your Royal Highness, you're here. Jun Linyuan looked at the girl in front of him. Seeing that her fair and slender neck was red, he was very satisfied. She must be abashed. However, the more satisfied Jun Linyuan was, the more serious his expression became. Hence, he nodded and hummed faintly. Feng Wu looked past Zhuo Qingluan and saw the black-robed man kneeling on the ground. She was instantly enlightened. This man is a spy from Dongsang. He was lying in ambush in Nest. I suspect that he's Elder Dai. She looked up with a serious look in her eyes. I saw him give Zhuo Qingluan special blood. The special blood allowed Zhuo Qingluan to advance from a level 2 to a level 7 spiritual king. That's a terrifying breakthrough. Jun Linyuan didn't care at first, but he frowned when he heard what Feng Wu said. Level 2 to level 7? If the Dongsang Kingdom used special blood to mass-produce level 7 spiritual king warriors, the consequences would be serious. Because of the commotion, many people were coming this way. The general wasn't here, and Mr. Lu was recuperating, so Mr. Su, who was in charge of the Magical Equipment Division, and Elder Dongfang came. Chapter 3382 The Crown Prince's Girl 3 3382 The Crown Prince's Girl 3 In addition, Elder Qing, the person in charge of the West Mountain Magical Equipment Division, Elder Yin, the head of the Armed Forces Department, Elder Wu, the other head of the department, and Elder Wang, the newly promoted Level 9 Inscription Master, all came out. Elder Wang was none other than Master Wang, whom Feng Wu had known before. Everyone gathered together and surrounded this place. "Who is making a racket here?" Elder Qing shouted when he arrived. Mr. Su was talking to Jun Linyuan when he heard that. Frowning, he retorted, "Qing Mu, you're finally here." Qing Mu was Mr. Su's direct subordinate. Hence, when he heard Mr. Su's words, he quickly knelt on one knee with a terrified expression. "Greet the Crown Prince," Mr. Su said solemnly. "The Crown Prince? The legendary invincible Jun Linyuan?" Elder Qing had always been in charge of the Magical Equipment Division and had never been outside. That was why he had never met Jun Linyuan before. Hearing Mr. Su's words, Elder Qing immediately knelt down and bowed to the future emperor. Jun Linyuan frowned and gave him a stern look. With just a glance, Elder Qing felt his scalp tingle. His entire body stiffened, and a chill ran down his spine. The Crown Prince wasn't angry when he gave out that energy, but he was even more dignified than His Majesty before he took the throne. It was really terrifying. Sweat covered Elder Qing's forehead. When Qing Mu knelt long enough, the Crown Prince said calmly, "Qing Mu, is it?" Yes, Elder Qing was ranked first in the Magical Equipment Division, but he didn't dare raise his head in front of Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan continued his conversation with Mr. Su. The more Mr. Su listened, the more he frowned. Really? If there's really a spy from Dongsang who has such a high position and we haven't found out yet, I'm afraid a lot of our internal information has been stolen. Jun Linyuan's face darkened. He wasn't worried about anything else. The only thing he cared about was if the Dongsang Kingdom found out it was Feng Wu who was causing trouble, they would target her in the future, which could be very troublesome. There was nothing in this world that he couldn't lose, except her. Standing right in front of Mr. Su, Feng Wu said solemnly, "He's Elder Dai. I'm sure of it." As she spoke, Feng Wu pointed at the black-robed man, who was still kneeling before Jun Linyuan. Everyone had been paying attention to Jun Linyuan, but when Feng Wu said that, they all turned to look at her. Mr. Su and Elder Dongfang were fine, but the people from the Magical Equipment Division were as shocked as if they had seen a ghost when they saw Feng Wu. Master Wang was the first to recognize Feng Wu. He couldn't believe his eyes. How dare this girl point at an honorable elder? The combative elders were at least spiritual overlords. "How dare you?" Elder Yin of the Magical Equipment Division snapped at Feng Wu. Before Feng Wu could react, the Crown Prince glared at Elder Yin. SSSS. Elder Yin felt his vision go dark and he fell to his knees. He didn't know what had happened. "Your Royal Highness, please spare his life," Mr. Su pleaded to Jun Linyuan. "Humph!" The Crown Prince snorted arrogantly. Elder Yin, who had reprimanded Feng Wu, felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if he had just walked out of death's door and crawled out of a mountain of corpses. He was dumbfounded. However, he didn't dare say anything else. Even the way he looked at Feng Wu had changed. Chapter 3383 The Crown Prince's Girl 4 3383 The Crown Prince's Girl 4 Mr. Su suggested, "This matter can't be resolved anytime soon. It's late at night outside and the fog is thick. Why don't we go to the Magical Equipment Division and deal with it there? Jun Linyuan wasn't interested in such things. He grabbed Feng Wu and was about to leave. However, Feng Wu tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve and looked at him with her bright black eyes. After spending so much time with Feng Wu, the Crown Prince understood everything. The girl wanted to get involved. Well, the Crown Prince, who had never cared about anyone else's feelings, now had someone to indulge. Seeing the mist on the girl's hair, Jun Linyuan asked in resignation, "Why do you like to meddle with other people's matters?" Feng Wu stomped her foot in frustration. "I'm not meddling. He's an elder and a spy." However, in Jun Linyuan's eyes, he was just an elder. He could easily finish a spiritual overlord with one strike. Feng Wu was so anxious that her forehead was covered in sweat, and she was even stomping her feet in anger. Seeing this, the Crown Prince was amused. "All right. If you want to watch the show, I'll let you stay." After that, he turned to look at Mr. Su. His expression changed instantly, and he said with a grim look in his eyes, "Go to the Magical Equipment Division." Mr. Su was already used to the Crown Prince treating him differently. He rubbed his nose and didn't feel offended. Elder Dongfang's attention was on the black-robed man. If he was really Elder Dai, she tended to think that wasn't the case. Elder Dongfang said, "I'll go get Elder Dai." After saying that, Elder Dongfang disappeared on the spot. The ones who were truly shocked were the people from the Magical Equipment Division. Many people in the division had met Feng Wu before. Elder Yin, Elder Wu, and Master Wang had all met Feng Wu. Elder Qing was the only exception because he had been cultivating. The three people who had met Feng Wu were all shocked. When Aunt Qing tried to let Feng Wu join Master Duanmu, Elder Wu turned them down. Master Wang had become a level 9 inscription master under Feng Wu's guidance, but he had never dreamed Feng Wu would be so close to the Crown Prince. For a moment, everyone had mixed feelings, but no one let their emotions show. As renowned masters, they had to maintain their calm appearance. Elder Yin went to move the black-robed man, while Zhua Qingluan. Elder Qing called for Aunt Qing, who carried Zhua Qingluan inside. Aunt Qing was surprised to see Feng Wu. Her eyes lit up. "Xiao Wu, are you all right?" After that, Aunt Qing winked at Feng Wu. She had kept it a secret for the past 3 days, and no one knew Feng Wu had gone out. Seeing that Aunt Qing was talking to Feng Wu as if the latter were a neighbor, Elder Qing broke out in a sweat. He didn't want to be scolded by the Crown Prince like what happened to Elder Yin. Therefore, Elder Qing pulled Aunt Qing hard, telling her to shut up and not cause trouble for him. Feng Wu didn't see what Elder Qing was doing behind her back. She greeted Aunt Qing with a sweet smile. "I'm fine. Thank you, Aunt Qing." Aunt Qing said, "That's good." After that, Aunt Qing walked up to Feng Wu and carried Zhua Qingluan over her shoulder as she chatted with Feng Wu. The poor Crown Prince was pushed aside by Aunt Qing and left behind. The surrounding people looked at Elder Qing in horror. They gestured for him to look at the Crown Prince's face. Elder Qing saw the look on the Crown Prince's face. It was really ugly. Chapter 3384 3384 The Crown Prince's Maid 1 3384 The Crown Prince's Maid 1 Elder Qing hurried over and dragged Aunt Qing away. "Watch where you're going. Don't you know His Royal Highness is here?" His Royal Highness. Aunt Qing turned around and saw the handsome teenager walking next to Feng Wu. Her eyes lit up. "Is this our Crown Prince?" Elder Qing quickly covered her mouth. "Shut up!" The group of people quickly walked to the Magical Equipment Division. The hall was brightly lit. Master Duanmu was studying the inscription propeller. When he heard his disciple Ji Ying's report, he didn't want to join in the fun. However, Ji Ying was very excited. "Master! The Crown Prince! The Crown Prince is here! His Royal Highness!" That unparalleled youth. As proud as Master Duanmu was, he knew he had no right to be arrogant in front of a genius like Jun Linyuan. He put down the inscription propeller, changed his clothes, straightened them, and hurried out. In the spacious hall, the Crown Prince sat down with Feng Wu next to him. On the Crown Prince's left were Mr. Su, Elder Yin and Elder Wu, who led the inscription masters. On the Crown Prince's left were Elder Qing, Aunt Qing and Master Wang. The black-robed man and Zhuo Qingluan knelt in the center. The black-robed man was immobilized by the Crown Prince. However, Zhuo Qingluan could move. She was kneeling on the ground with her head lowered. She wished she could bury herself in the ground. This was so humiliating. She was the sacred lady of Firmament Palace and the most prestigious woman in the empire. No other woman in the world was more honorable than her, but now she was kneeling here like a stray dog. The humiliation. Feng Wu, I'll make you pay for everything I went through today, Zhuo Qingluan screamed in her head. At that moment, Master Duanmu and his disciple, Ji Ying, were running toward the crowd. Master Duanmu looked at the lineup and immediately stood silently on the left. Ji Ying followed closely behind his master. He raised his head and secretly looked at the young man at the top. With just one glance, Ji Ying realized how terrifying the Crown Prince was. Even from so far away, Ji Ying didn't dare look at Jun Linyuan a second time. Because he respected Jun Linyuan so much, Ji Ying didn't notice the girl in the red dress standing next to the Crown Prince. Master Wang's disciples also arrived. They were Wang Zhiheng, Mo Ziming, Yu Ban, Dong Chun and Lia Ken. Wang Zhiheng had told his junior brothers that they were only allowed to listen from afar and to not make a single sound. Hence, they all lowered their heads and stole one glance at Jun Linyuan from the corner of their eyes before looking down at the two people kneeling in the middle of the hall. The huge hall was brightly lit, and there were many people, but it was so silent that one would be able to hear a pin drop. No one spoke at first. Feng Wu cleared her throat and said, "I'm the witness. Let me go first. I saw this black-robed man with Zhuo Qingluan, and he gave her special blood for her cultivation. Zhuo Qingluan was only a level 2 spiritual king at first." Mr. Su nodded. "I can vouch for that." Mr. Su had always thought Zhuo Qingluan was a genius, so he had been paying attention to her. Feng Wu nodded. "But now you can see how strong Zhuo Qingluan is. She's a level 7 spiritual king," Elder Qing said quickly. Feng Wu nodded. "Zhuo Qingluan went from level 2 to level 7 overnight. Aren't you curious about that?" Chapter 3385 The Crown Prince's Maid 2 3385 The Crown Prince's Maid 2 Everyone looked at Feng Wu curiously. Of course they were intrigued. A few people in the crowd were shocked. Among them, Ji Ying and Wang Zhiheng were the most astonished. Ji Ying had taken a fancy to Feng Wu and wanted to make her one of his concubines. Wang Zhiheng liked Feng Wu too and wanted to marry her. When they saw the lively girl in a red dress standing next to the proud Crown Prince, they thought she was the Crown Prince's maid. Ji Ying's heart skipped a beat. He was so good at inscriptions. If he could work with his master and get some credit for the research of the fighter jets, he could beg the Crown Prince for permission to marry the Crown Prince's maid. Wang Zhiheng had the same plan. Feng Wu didn't care about them at all. She was only looking at Zhuo Qingluan, who was kneeling in the middle of the room, with a mocking look in her eyes. Seeing Zhuo Qingluan lower her head and flush in humiliation, Feng Wu smirked. Did she feel humiliated now? 6 years ago, after Feng Wu's true phoenix blood was crippled, she had fallen from heaven to hell. She had suffered more than this. Jun Linyuan's subordinates were all influential figures in the outside world. Feng Wu was only a level 6 spiritual king. However, Feng Wu didn't show any fear in front of these big shot. It was because of this. Feng Wu handed over the porcelain bottle. This is the latest special blood developed by the Dongsang Kingdom. The blood can instantly modify and improve one's cultivation. Many people looked at Feng Wu in confusion. Why should they believe her? However, Jun Linyuan and Mr. Su believed Feng Wu. Feng Wu had proven to them that she was a semi-divine medicine refiner. Someone stepped forward from the crowd. It was Master Wang. Master Wang gave Feng Wu a brooding look. Why don't I take a look? I'm a supreme-level medicine refiner. After Master Wang's beloved woman was poisoned to death, he had studied medicine diligently and gradually became a supreme-level medicine refiner. It was just that many people didn't know about it. They didn't know he was so talented. Feng Wu nodded. Of course. Master Wang took the potion. There was still some medicinal liquid left in the bottle. The medicinal liquid was a faint golden color, and it gave off a feeling of boundless power. Master Wang carefully took a drop of the medicine and poured it on his palm. After careful observation, he found that the spiritual essence particles inside seemed to be exploding. Master Wang could feel it, but he couldn't describe the feeling. He recounted his observation and added his own opinion. I think Miss Feng Wu is right. The golden liquid might increase one's spiritual essence in a short period of time, but there would probably be repercussions. Master Wang had mixed feelings when he saw Feng Wu. Who would have thought this girl had such a powerful patron? That was the Crown Prince. With his Royal Highness around, no one in the world could bully her. Master Wang had done Feng Wu a favor, but someone in the crowd frowned. Master Duanmu had always regarded Master Wang as a thorn in his side. Seeing that Master Wang had become a level 9 inscription master, he couldn't hold back his anger anymore. Now, he saw the Crown Prince nod at Master Wang as if he agreed with the latter. How could Master Duanmu stand it? Chapter 3386 3386 The Crown Prince's Maid 3 3386 The Crown Prince's Maid 3 Master Duanmu felt that if he didn't defeat his junior brother for good, the latter might really replace him in the future. In terms of talent, Master Wang was just as good as Master Duanmu. Thinking this, Master Duanmu immediately stood up and said to Master Wang in a reprimanding tone, Junior brother, is your old habit acting up again? You're jumping to conclusions without any evidence. What did our master teach you back then? Don't be arrogant. Master Wang didn't know what to say. Master Duanmu was the senior brother. It was only right for him to reprimand his junior brother. No one could say anything about it. However, their master used to reprimand Duanmu all the time back then for his arrogance. It had never been Master Wang. However, Master Wang wasn't good with words. When reprimanded by Master Duanmu, he stood there stiffly, his face flushed red, but he couldn't say anything in return. This was the disadvantage of an honest person not knowing how to quarrel. Feng Wu frowned when she saw Master Duanmu's reaction. She darted a look at him and said in a displeased tone, Why don't you try it? Master Duanmu didn't think much of Feng Wu. She was just a maid who served the Crown Prince. She didn't have the right to express her feelings. Master Duanmu was a level 9 inscription master who was about to develop a fighter jet. Even 100 maids like her couldn't compare with him. The arrogant Master Duanmu walked up and snatched the medicine from Feng Wu's hand. Master Wang noticed how the Crown Prince's face darkened. Elder Yin wanted to remind Master Duanmu to watch his attitude toward Feng Wu. However, Master Duanmu was so immersed in the elation of his impending invention that he couldn't take the hint. Master Duanmu's talent in medicine was also inferior to Master Wang's, so his perception of the medicinal liquid was slightly worse than Master Wang's. Master Wang could sense the explosion inside the spiritual essence particles, but Master Duanmu couldn't. There's nothing special about this liquid. You're just spouting nonsense. Master Duanmu rejected Master Wang's deduction and said to Jun Linyuan with cupped fists, "Your Royal Highness, my junior brother has always been arrogant and full of lies since he was young. It's our fault for not teaching him well enough, and he makes a fool of himself." The Crown Prince stared at Master Duanmu with a brooding expression, which chilled Master Duanmu. He felt that the Crown Prince's eyes were as sharp as knives and could see the truth in the darkness, which made Master Duanmu feel guilty. Master Duanmu didn't dare meet the Crown Prince's eyes again. He lowered his head. For a moment everyone fell silent, waiting for Jun Linyuan's decision. However, the Crown Prince didn't say anything, which was a terrifying thing. Feng Wu smiled. "Actually, what's there to argue about? Aunt Qing, can you go to the kitchen and fetch a hen and a rabbit?" Aunt Qing quickly agreed. Soon Aunt Qing returned. Apart from the hen and rabbit, she also brought 3 other types of wild animals. Everyone knew Feng Wu was going to do an experiment in front of everyone. Master Wang frowned. "There isn't enough medicinal liquid." Feng Wu said, "There's not enough medicine, but there's enough blood. Don't you think so, Miss Zhua?" Zhua Qingluan cursed inwardly and stared at Feng Wu with hatred in her eyes. She would make Feng Wu pay 1,000 times for what she had done today. Zhua Qingluan swore a blood oath. "That's right. That's a good idea." Master Wang agreed with Feng Wu right away. As long as these creatures grow stronger, it means the special blood does exist, and Miss Zhua did drink it. Chapter 3387 3387 The Crown Prince's Maid 4 3387 The Crown Prince's Maid 4 How could Zhua Qingluan say no? Now that she was a prisoner, she had no ability to resist at all, and could only let Aunt Qing take her blood. Aunt Qing fed the 5 portions of blood to the 5 animals. The hen exploded and died on the spot. The rabbit paused for a few seconds before exploding and dying. After that, the hound also exploded. The cheetah swayed and bled from its mouth, but it remained standing. The leopard rolled around in pain. In the end, its strength really increased by a lot. Zhua Qingluan's face was ashen, and she had nothing else to say. Master Wang heaved a sigh of relief. That shows that this special blood can indeed increase one's strength in a short period of time. It really is a terrifying thing. But how could Master Duanmu admit it? Admitting it would mean he had lost. His accusation of Master Wang would make him look like an idiot. Hence, Master Duanmu smirked. "How dare you say that when you've only experimented on animals? How dare you make such a joke in front of the Crown Prince? What if the Crown Prince wasn't here? Wouldn't you look more ridiculous than you already do?" Feng Wu looked at Master Duanmu as if he were an idiot. Since Master Duanmu wouldn't stop when he still could, Feng Wu didn't mind slapping him in the face. Master Wang was once again infuriated by how Master Duanmu distorted the truth. However, the honest Master Wang could only tremble in anger. His face was ashen, but he couldn't say anything in retort. Feng Wu sighed on Master Wang's behalf and said calmly, "Actually, we can try Zhua Qingluan's blood on humans." Master Wang's eyes lit up. That was right. Yes, we can try it on humans. That's a great idea. No, it's not. Zhua Qingluan was furious. What did they think her blood was? She had such precious blood, yet they were using it whenever they wanted. It was unbelievable. However, Feng Wu didn't even look at her, and gave Aunt Qing instructions once again. Aunt Qing was so happy that Feng Wu paid so much attention to her. This way she was able to stand out in front of so many big shot. Aunt Qing was elated. This was something she could brag about for the rest of her life. Hence, Aunt Qing quickly walked out. When she returned, there were 5 people behind her. Aunt Qing said to Feng Wu, "We don't have any spiritual kings here, and these are all spiritual lords. They range from level 1 to level 5. I wonder if that'll work." Aunt Qing hadn't received much education, but she was the street-smart type. She could tell that the Crown Prince was the most important person present, even Mr. Su had to show him respect. But the Crown Prince didn't reciprocate, and he was only nice to Feng Wu. Aunt Qing immediately knew what was going on. Feng Wu nodded. Sure. Give them 5 more portions of blood. Don't let them have too much. Aunt Qing nodded and immediately went to carry out the order. Elder Yin looked at Elder Qing strangely. Elder Qing couldn't begin to describe how he felt. He had thought Aunt Qing, who was like a bumpkin, would be useless to him, but to his surprise, she had caught the eye of the Crown Prince's sweetheart. Did he have to cozy up to his wife now? These 5 spiritual lords sat in a row on the ground. Soon, they really made a breakthrough. However, Chapter 3388 Proof 1 3388 Proof 1 The 5 of them sat in a row on the ground and began to cultivate. All eyes were on them. Would they be able to make a breakthrough? If they really did, didn't that mean they had found a shortcut? No one's expression changed, but they all had their own plans. Rumble. Someone made a breakthrough. Everyone looked at the first person. That person was the strongest, and his breakthrough speed was also the fastest. Therefore, he broke through by 1 level in an instant. Many people's eyes lit up. Aunt Qing covered her mouth and sighed. Gosh! He really did it. Soon, that person made another breakthrough. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat. They were so envious. In such a short period of time, this level 5 spiritual lord had made 2 consecutive breakthroughs. He was a level 7 spiritual lord now. It was as if he were on a rocket ride. Gosh! I didn't know that was possible. The people standing on the right were relatively calm. However, those on the left were from the military academy, and they were already discussing excitedly. Master Duanmu's eyes turned red. He had never had the energy to cultivate, so his cultivation level had never been as high as the others. If this method worked, even if this medicinal liquid was very expensive, he had to get it. Master Duanmu's disciple, Jiying, had the same plan. With a buzz, the level 7 spiritual lord broke through again. Even Elder Qing couldn't remain calm anymore. He was excited. Yes, we can make breakthroughs with this liquid. The Junwu Empire can create as many masters as we want. Oh my God, this is unbelievable! He wasn't the only one who was excited. Many people were as thrilled as he was. Zhuo Qingluan's face was ashen. These people stared at her like hungry wolves, as if they couldn't wait to rush up and bleed her dry. She was the sacred lady of Firmament Palace. She was a phoenix, but these people were treating her like a common hen. But Feng Wu only frowned. She said, "Something's wrong." Jun Linyuan glanced at her. Feng Wu said in a serious tone, "In this world, a person's ability should grow in an orderly manner. If one can make breakthroughs at an unlimited speed, they'll have to pay a terrible price, probably with their life." Master Duanmu glanced at her disdainfully and reprimanded her. Nonsense! However, that was all he had time to say. Boom! The first test subject, who was about to reach level 9, exploded. The explosion of spiritual essence inside a cultivator's body was a terrifying thing. Not only would his meridians be destroyed, it would also affect his surroundings. Fortunately, Mr. Su had long realized something was wrong, and had set up a thin protective shield around the first cultivator. Right after the protective shield was formed, the first cultivator exploded. His entire body was a bloody mess, and his meridians were broken. Master Wang went up in a hurry to check his breathing. In the end, he looked up and shook his head at Jun Linyuan. "He's dead." "Dead? Did he explode and die because he made breakthroughs too quickly?" Aunt Qing rubbed her chest. "Fortunately, Miss Feng Wu told me beforehand that he might explode and die. That's why the 5 people I brought here are all on death row." Chapter 3389 3389 Proof 2 3389 Proof 2 Feng Wu looked at Aunt Qing curiously. She didn't know there were prisoners on death row here. Aunt Qing nodded and told Feng Wu in a low voice that Nest's prison was nearby. The first test subject exploded and died, instantly making everyone calm down a little. Soon, the second spiritual king began his cultivation. His potential was even stronger than the first one. He broke through 4 times in one go, but in the end, he also exploded and died. Thankfully, Mr. Su had learned his lesson. Each test subject was wrapped in a protective shield, so the explosion of their spiritual essence wouldn't affect the people around them. The third, the fourth, the fifth. Apart from the last person who broke through 2 levels in one go and injured his foundation, the other 4 people all exploded and died. This success rate. Even Zhuo Qinghuan's hair stood on end, let alone the others. She turned around and stared angrily at the black-robed man. If not for her good luck, she would have exploded and died. She would have been dead by now. The crown prince frowned at the mess. Aunt Qing reacted quickly. She called for someone to clean up. In just a short while, the ground was already clean and spotless, as if nothing had happened. No one made a sound. The change from ecstasy to disappointment was so drastic that everyone had yet to recover from it. Feng Wu stepped forward and stared at Zhuo Qinghuan. Do those 4 people prove that Zhuo Qinghuan drank the special blood? Does this prove that Zhuo Qinghuan has a close relationship with Dongsang? Zhuo Qinghuan smirked. Why should that prove anything? Yes, I did take some special blood, but who can prove that it came from the Dongsang kingdom? Feng Wu, you can't frame me. Feng Wu smiled and looked at Mr. Su. Why would I frame you? Mr. Su, why don't you check her spiritual essence? Master Duanmu sneered inwardly. Mr. Su was an important figure. Why would he listen to a maid? However, Mr. Su did as Feng Wu said, although he still didn't agree with Feng Wu out loud in public. Mr. Su had been dealing with the Dongsang kingdom for so many years that he knew the energy of the Dongsang kingdom very well. Zhuo Qinghuan had hidden her energy well, but it was basically useless in front of a master like Mr. Su. She couldn't hide anything from him. Mr. Su not only examined Zhuo Qinghuan, but also the 5th test subject. At the same time, he also thoroughly examined the black-robed man. In the end, Mr. Su took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes, his gaze was as sharp as a blade. All 3 of them carry the scent of the Dongsang kingdom. It's very faint, but I'm sure of it. Mr. Su frowned and stared at Feng Wu. Why is that? Feng Wu sighed. The 5th test subject has it because of Zhuo Qinghuan's blood, so he can be ruled out. However, Zhuo Qinghuan and this black-robed man are definitely spies of the Dongsang kingdom. The only thing we need to prove now is the identity of this black-robed man. First of all, let me tell you my guess, Feng Wu said. I suspect this black-robed man is Elder Dai, the one in charge of the disciplinary hall in the Council of Elders of the Military Academy. Chapter 3390 3390 Proof 3 3390 Proof 3 That's impossible. Mr. Su was the first to deny Feng Wu's suggestion as he said bluntly, Elder Dai is from the Junwu Empire. I reviewed his file and checked his energy myself. There's no mistake. With Jun Linyuan in the middle, the people on the left were mostly from the Imperial College or had remained neutral, while the people on the left were from the Military Academy. Hence, when Feng Wu said that the black-robed man was an elder of the Military Academy, they were displeased. She was defaming the Military Academy. Hence, they all stood up and agreed with Mr. Su. Elder Yin was more reserved. Your Royal Highness, Miss Feng Wu is making wild guesses and slandering the Military Academy. That's not a good idea, is it? Elder Wu was infuriated. Your Royal Highness, everyone in the military academy has fought bravely to protect our country. Miss Feng Wu is humiliating us by saying those things. Master Duanmu took a look and decided to join them. Besides, he was a level 9 inscription master, and held a high position, so Master Duanmu believed the Crown Prince would show him some respect. Hence, Master Duanmu stepped forward and bowed to Jun Linyuan with a pained look on his face. Your Royal Highness, this troublesome girl is like a demon. She's trying to confuse the public and destroy all the glory of the military academy. So many heroes in the military academy have sacrificed their lives for this honor. Your Royal Highness, if word of this gets out, the soldiers will be terrified. Your Royal Highness, please kill this demon to appease the anger of the heroic spirits in the military academy. With that said, Master Duanmu knelt down and banged his forehead on the ground. Master Duanmu was trying to use the Crown Prince to do his dirty work. Master Duanmu finally found out that Feng Wu was the reason why Master Wang had become a level 9 inscription master. So, how could Master Duanmu not hate Feng Wu? Now that he had such a good opportunity, of course, he would make good use of it. Mr. Su was dumbfounded. To be honest, he was just used to opposing Feng Wu. Deep down, he admired Feng Wu a little. But why did Master Duanmu suddenly want to kill Feng Wu? Feng Wu, who was standing next to Jun Linyuan, was dumbfounded. What Master Duanmu said was so hilarious. How could he compare her to a demon? Feng Wu walked away from Jun Linyuan, walked up to Master Duanmu, and stared at him. Master Duanmu held his head high and puffed out his chest. He wasn't afraid. Feng Wu suddenly smiled. Master Duanmu, you found out Master Wang became a level 9 inscription master because of my advice, haven't you? Master Duanmu snorted arrogantly and remained silent. Feng Wu said, so you hate me and want to use this as an excuse to get Jun Linyuan to kill me, right? Jun Linyuan. Master Duanmu couldn't believe a maid had called the Crown Prince by his full name. Feng Wu gave Master Duanmu a mocking look and smirked. But I'll prove to you how stupid you are. Feng Wu had two options now. The first option was simple. She could go up to Jun Linyuan right now, sit down on his lap, and give him a kiss in front of everyone. That would ensure that Master Duanmu would fall to the ground in fear and stop acting like a clown. Chapter 3391 Proof 4 3391 Proof 4 The second option was to prove that the black-robed man was Elder Dai, and slap everyone in the face with the truth. Without a doubt, Feng Wu chose the second option. She walked up to the black-robed man and waved her hand. The mask on the black-robed man's face cracked. Mr. Su and the others looked at the black-robed man. Was the black-robed man really Elder Dai? However, when they saw his face, Mr. Su heaved a sigh of relief, and so did Master Duanmu and the others. Master Duanmu stared at Feng Wu and smirked. Is that Elder Dai's face? Why doesn't it look like him? Elder Een shook his head. It's not Elder Dai. I'm familiar with him. He doesn't look like that. Elder Wu also said, It's not Elder Dai. Master Duanmu stared at Feng Wu again. You keep saying the black-robed man is Elder Dai and that he's a spy from the Dongsang Kingdom. You have the proof now. He's not Elder Dai. Feng Wu, just because you work for the Crown Prince doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. You can't slander Elder Dai like this. What are you going to do about this? Master Wang and the others were worried about Feng Wu. If he wasn't Elder Dai, what was Feng Wu going to do now? She had insisted Elder Dai was a traitor. Many people felt embarrassed for Feng Wu. Aunt Qing was worried about what would happen. Right now, Feng Wu wasn't as embarrassed as everyone thought. She stared at the man in the black robe and smiled. You're so proud of yourself now, aren't you? Feng Wu smiled at him. Do you think you've fooled everyone? Do you think I've lost this game? But have you forgotten? I'm also an expert in disguise. Your little tricks may work on others, but do you think you can fool me? The black-robed man looked smug at first, but his expression changed a little. However, he soon calmed down and didn't respond to Feng Wu's words at all. Feng Wu smiled. Before anyone could react, she raised her hand. She ripped the human skin mask off of Elder Dai's face. Seeing the mask in Feng Wu's hand, everyone became tense. Those standing on Jun Linyuan's left were happy for Feng Wu, but those from the military academy frowned. Apart from wearing a strange mask, this black-robed man also had a human skin mask stuck to his face. He was really careful. So, was he really Elder Dai? Just then, hasty footsteps came from outside. Everyone turned around and saw Elder Dongfang walking toward them. Behind her was a tall, burly middle-aged man. Everyone immediately recognized that man. Elder Dai. Elder Dongfang is here with Elder Dai. Since the real Elder Dai is here, who's the one kneeling there? Everyone was shocked. When they looked at Feng Wu again, their eyes were full of pride and arrogance. Elder Dongfang went up to Jun Linyuan and said, "Your Royal Highness, Elder Dai is here." Jun Linyuan stared at Elder Dai, whom Elder Dongfang had brought with him. His expression didn't change. He gave the newcomer a meaningful look before turning to Feng Wu. "What do you think?" Chapter 3392 The Real One 1. 3392 The Real One 1. What's the point of that question? Feng Wu is obviously wrong. Many people thought so. The Crown Prince had obviously taken Feng Wu's side. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Master Duanmu stepped forward. Wasn't Miss Feng Wu very decisive when she tore off the human skin mask? Come on. Turn that black-robed man around and let us see if he's Elder Dai. The black-robed man turned around on his own. Everyone was surprised to see his face. He looked like Elder Dai from behind, but his face looked nothing like the real one. Master Duanmu laughed out loud. "Elder Dai? Don't make me laugh." Everyone saw the black-robed man's face. Although they didn't laugh as loudly as Master Duanmu, they still had their own thoughts. Feng Wu had claimed that the black-robed man was Elder Dai, but it turned out the real Elder Dai was standing right in front of them. The black-robed man's mask had been torn off, and he wasn't Elder Dai at all. Feng Wu was deep in thought. Could it be that the black-robed man wasn't Elder Dai? No, something was wrong. Feng Wu turned to look at Elder Dai, who was standing next to Elder Dongfang. Elder Dai smiled at Feng Wu and stood still. Feng Wu whispered in Jun Linyuan's ear. Jun Linyuan shook his head at her. Feng Wu immediately knew what she had to do. She walked away from Jun Linyuan with her hands behind her back and circled around Elder Dai, rubbing her chin as she walked. Elder Dai smirked and let Feng Wu size him up. Master Duanmu sneered at Feng Wu. "No matter how stubborn you are, you have to accept the truth. It's been proven that Elder Dai isn't." With a loud bang, Feng Wu made her move. No one knew how Feng Wu did it. All they saw was Feng Wu hitting Elder Dai from behind. Elder Dai was caught off guard and was forced to take a step forward. His blood surged, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "You!" Before Elder Dai could say anything, Feng Wu pounced on him and attacked him. Feng Wu was suddenly all over the place. She hit Elder Dai over 10 times in the chest before moving away from him. Elder Dai's blood surged, and he spat out a mouthful of blood that splattered all over the ground. Everyone was astonished. Master Duanmu stared at Feng Wu. "How dare you attack Elder Dai?" 10 meters away, Feng Wu smiled at Elder Dai. "Isn't Elder Dai a spiritual overlord? If I remember correctly, he's an intermediate one. I'm just a level 6 spiritual king, so how could I injure Elder Dai? That should be impossible." Hearing Feng Wu's words, everyone looked at Elder Dai in bewilderment. She was right. Feng Wu was only a level 6 spiritual king. How could she have beaten up Elder Dai until he vomited blood? That didn't make sense. Elder Dai reacted quickly. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and slowly said, "I'm already seriously injured, and you caught me off guard. I wasn't careful enough." Feng Wu smiled. Elder Dai was seriously injured? How did that happen? Which medicine refiner treated him? Chapter 3393 The Real One 2 3393 The Real One 2 Elder Dai was dumbfounded by Feng Wu's questions. In the end, he could only stammer, I was injured in the chest and abdomen." Feng Wu smiled and asked Master Wang to examine him. Master Wang was a decent medicine refiner. However, Elder Dai refused to be inspected. The others didn't notice anything unusual at first, but after seeing the interaction between Feng Wu and Elder Dai, they could tell something was off. Something wasn't right about this Elder Dai. As the person in charge of the disciplinary hall, Elder Dai had always been stern, fierce, and ruthless. However, why was this Elder Dai a little too cowardly? Standing next to the black-robed man, Feng Wu smiled at him. "What do you think? Are you worried? Your twin brother isn't that good an actor. He's full of flaws and can't stop making mistakes. That won't do." The black-robed man didn't even look at Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at the black-robed man and sighed. "Elder Dai, I didn't expect you to be able to put 2 layers of human skin on your face. That's a rare disguise. I can't believe how careful you are, but I still got you." Feng Wu looked at Elder Dai. "Do you want to do it yourself, or should I?" Feng Wu didn't try to hide anything, so everyone heard what she said. "What? Twin brothers?" Elder Dai had 2 layers of a human skin mask. What was all this? Why did it sound so surreal? It didn't take long for everyone to understand what Feng Wu meant. With another wave of her hand, Feng Wu removed the last human skin mask on Elder Dai's face and revealed his true appearance. It was indeed Elder Dai's face. Human skin masks still had a thickness to them, so there was a limit to how many layers a person could wear. It was already very difficult for Elder Dai to wear 2 layers, and Feng Wu didn't believe that he could wear a 3rd one. Hence, 2 Elder Dais appeared in front of everyone. What? Master Duanmu was the first to be shocked. There are really 2 Elder Dais? Isn't this 2? Elder Dongfang and Mr. Su were also stunned. Why were there 2 Elder Dais? Were they really twins, as Feng Wu had said? A strange sneer appeared on Elder Dai's face. In the next second, Feng Wu pinched his chin, and a pill slipped out of his mouth. Master Wang rushed forward to pick it up. After taking a closer look, he exclaimed, "This is semi-divine butterfly poison. Once you bite it, the venom will flow into your throat. There's no antidote. Even the gods wouldn't be able to save you." Now, there was enough evidence to prove that Elder Dai was the greatest suspect. Master Duanmu's face instantly turned pale. At that moment, Mr. Su's expression was indescribably ugly. There was actually a spy among the higher-ups of the military academy. He was even an elder. How much information had he given to the Dongsang kingdom over the years? How many people had he instigated? Mr. Su turned to look at Feng Wu with a grim face. "I'm going to take Elder Dai away for an interrogation." There was no give in his tone. Feng Wu nodded. "But don't kill him. I'll need him to prove something later." Mr. Su nodded. He held Elder Dai in his left hand and the twin brother in his right. Soon, they disappeared from everyone's sight. Chapter 3394 The Real One 3 3394 The Real One 3 Everyone knew now that Mr. Su was angry. Elder Dai would probably suffer. However, it was still shocking to learn that Elder Dai was a spy. Feng Wu looked at Elder Yin. she noticed that Elder Een was wiping his sweat. Feng Wu nodded at him with a smile. Elder Een, why are you sweating? Feng Wu's words immediately made Elder Een the target of public attention. Everyone turned to look at Elder Een when they heard what Feng Wu said. Elder Een hadn't expected Feng Wu to pick him out, and he was so shocked that his face turned pale. However, he soon noticed that everyone was staring at him, and he immediately returned to normal. He even forced a smile and said to Feng Wu, Miss Feng Wu, you must be joking. I'm not sweating. However, Feng Wu pointed out Elder Een all of a sudden, which was a strange reaction. Feng Wu said, Elder Een, didn't you treat me with disdain before? Why are you sucking up to me now? Are you feeling guilty? Elder Een was infuriated. What was wrong with Feng Wu? Why was she picking on him? Did she see something, or was she bluffing? It was all Elder Een could do to stay calm. He continued to smile at Feng Wu. You're with the Crown Prince. How can I not respect you? Feng Wu was about to say something, but after some thought, she said, I'm sure you know what you've done. Elder Een gave a perfectly guileless look. The others were at a loss. They didn't understand what Feng Wu and Elder Een were talking about, so they looked at each other in confusion. Seeing how arrogant Feng Wu was, Master Duanmu couldn't take it anymore. Your Royal Highness, I have something to say. Master Duanmu stepped forward and said respectfully. A level 9 inscription master was indeed qualified to speak to the Crown Prince in that way. Jun Linyuan stared at Master Duanmu expressionlessly. No one knew what the Crown Prince was thinking. Master Duanmu met Jun Linyuan's gaze before he lowered his head, not daring to look at Jun Linyuan again. The Crown Prince was even more dignified than His Majesty. When he ascended to the throne in the future, he would be incredible. The more he thought about it, the more Master Duanmu wanted to curry favor with the Crown Prince. He thought he would be able to cozy up to the Crown Prince and climb up the rank. At this thought, Master Duanmu became even more excited. Your Royal Highness, I've developed a fighter jet, Master Duanmu said loudly. What? Instantly, everyone's eyes fell on Master Duanmu. A fighter jet. That was something that could greatly improve the military strength of the Junwu Empire. The Junwu Empire was far inferior to the Dongsang Kingdom in terms of technology. Not only did the Junwu Empire have fighter jets, they also bombarded Nest Fortress with them. Until now, the Junwu Empire didn't have a single fighter jet of its own. Therefore, when Master Duanmu said that he had developed a fighter jet, everyone was excited. However, only two people remained calm. One was the Crown Prince. The other was Feng Wu. Feng Wu glanced at Master Duanmu and asked casually, A fighter jet? You, Master Duanmu, developed a fighter jet? Who are you kidding? Feng Wu's scornful attitude offended Master Duanmu, and his face turned livid. Chapter 3395 The Real One 4 3395 The Real One 4 It not only agitated Master Duanmu, but also Master Duanmu's disciple, Jiying. Jiying stood up and scolded Feng Wu. Feng Wu, stop it! The Crown Prince, who had been sitting lazily in the chair, immediately straightened his back. He then turned his sharp eyes on Feng Wu and Jiying. Jiying felt a chill run down his spine when Jun Linyuan glared at him. But he didn't know what was happening. He reprimanded Feng Wu in a low voice. This is my master. Show some respect. Feng Wu almost laughed. He's your master, not mine. Why should I show some respect? Who the hell are you? Jiying said, Xiao Wu, have you forgotten? I said that I would marry you. No one noticed that blue veins were already popping on the Crown Prince's forehead. Feng Wu looked at Jiying as if he were a retard. Who are you? Who gave you the right to talk to me? Get lost. I'm talking to your master. Feng Wu was doing it on purpose. She wanted to humiliate Jiying and make him angry. If a person didn't get emotional, they wouldn't show anything. One would only show their true emotions when they couldn't control them. Both Master Duanmu and Ji Ying had to pay the price for what they did. Master Duanmu didn't know why Feng Wu was doing this. What he needed to do now was convince the Crown Prince that he could make a fighter jet. He took out a stack of drawings from his pocket and presented them with both hands respectfully. These are the drawings that I've been working on for many years. They're all about fighter jet. Please take a look, Your Royal Highness. Feng Wu glanced at the drawings. Why did they look so familiar? When Master Wang saw this, his eyes widened. They were exactly the same as the analytical drawings that Feng Wu had given him before. Feng Wu looked at Master Wang in confusion. Master Wang's heart lurched. He had a bad feeling. Feng Wu asked in bewilderment, "What happened?" Master Wang subconsciously reached into his chest pocket. He had always carried these blueprints with him. They were wrapped in oil paper and were placed close to his chest. Even when he was sleeping, he wouldn't take them out. He would always hug his chest and curl up to sleep. No one could take the drawings away. Moreover, he hadn't taken a shower recently, so it was impossible for someone to steal them. Feng Wu asked, "Master Wang, what's going on?" Master Wang touched his chest pocket. It felt like a stack of paper was there, and there was no change in the thickness. It should be fine, right? However, Master Wang was still worried. He turned around, quietly took out the blueprints wrapped in oil paper, and carefully unfolded them. Master Wang's expression changed with just one look. It wasn't the ones that Feng Wu had drawn. These blueprints were crudely drawn with crooked lines, and were just random inscription blueprints. Feng Wu and Master Wang exchanged surprised looks. Beads of sweat rolled down Master Wang's forehead. What's going on? I've been carrying them with me. Master Wang was a little anxious. How could they be swapped? Who swapped them? Where did the real blueprints go? Master Wang was extremely anxious. I took them out to study last night. They can't have been lost. Feng Wu sighed. She knew what had happened. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.